Sun's fading. We gotta go. I'll get my car. I brought mine. Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bat Dance Discussions. So, I'm really excited for this topic tonight. Joker, Folie. I'm sure I'm going to pronounce that wrong a few times, so sorry. But we're not going to just cover that movie today. We're going to cover the franchise as a whole. But Joker Folie will be broken down a lot more than Joker 2019. So, sorry, I had a bit of a burp there. But yeah, so this will be a great show today. We've got some awesome guests. And oh, yeah. Thank you, the Curly Ray. If only had a Jared Leto Joker hat to complete this set, but Heath Ledger's still an awesome Joker. So, before I bring my guests on, I just want to kind of give this out right now. Spoiler free for now. And I'll kind of remind people in the chat. So, for now, until we get to the spoiler warning, we are going to keep Joker Folie à Deux. God, sorry, guys, I can't pronounce that, but we're going to keep that spoiler free for now. So please welcome as I bring on my first guest, ZodWriter. How are you, man?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. How are you feeling tonight?
Good.
I'm great too. Just, are you pumped to talk about this awesome movie that everyone loves?
I'm happy to talk about it for sure.
And oh boy, sorry, just had to kind of wait a little bit. If the other guest is ready, please give a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So I'm sure you know who this is. The guy who always dresses up on when he comes on my channel and other people's channels. Please welcome as I bring on Josh Herrera.
Greetings, Gotham! Joker's back in town! Free Joker! What's going on, guys?
Nothing. So,
Nothing.
how do you hey, you match my hats.
Mr. J has to match Batman. Me and you, we're part of the same sides of the coin. You complete me.
Yeah, that I do, but I have to be honest, you're not my favorite Joker anymore.
Oh, well.
It's Jared Leto. As hot of a take as is the some people.
That guy. He's kind of funny.
He's great. So, you guys ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Okay, so before we get on to the Joker topics, I wanted to cover this real quick. So as you saw from my Batman Day stream, I was talking about how excited I was, and Josh, you were on there too, that Batman was getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And regardless about how I feel how the ceremony went, I'm still going to check out the star the next time I'm in LA because it's Batman, for crying out loud. Of course, I'm going to see it, but did
God.
not. I'm just saying they were very thorough with the TV Batman, mentioning the guy from Titans, but they left out Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, and Ben Affleck. But yeah, we're gonna mention Titans though.
So that was the lamest Walk of Fame ceremony of all time. I couldn't believe the lack of the lack of pedigree in that ceremony. It was just terrible. It was ridiculous. They might as well have just given him a star and just left it there and had nobody show up. Just let. As a matter of fact, they might as well have just let James Gunn speak, because I feel like this was all James Gunn's doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, considering that James Lee was promoting the DCU Superman movie on the Batman Walk of Fame. No, we're not going to talk about Batman at all. Let's talk about James Gunn's Superman movie.
That's a joke.
That it is, Joker. That it is. What are your thoughts on the ceremony?
Well, I don't know why my star wasn't right next to the Batsy, but other than Burt Ward, there were no movie Batman characters for Hollywood. There were some TV actors, but yeah, not.
Yeah.
I think my theory, Mr. J's theory, is correct. The budget of Warner Brothers just needed to be spent before the buyout. Therefore, throw money at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's what I think.
Well, they didn't throw enough money at the Hollywood Walk of Fame if they couldn't afford Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, or Ben Affleck, or objectively speaking, even Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, why wasn't Robert Pattinson there? Why wasn't George Clooney there? Honestly, you got to get the most recent people that played Batman to show up at the Walk of Fame, right?
But you know who was there, though? The actress who played Dreamer on Supergirl.
Oh, yeah, she's so important to the Batman mythology. It's incredible.
And that's what I'm thinking. It's like no offense to her, but she has nothing to do with Batman. If I had a choice between her or Ben Affleck, it's just like they didn't. I just feel like they didn't try with the guests. Burt Ward was good. I'm glad they got Burt Ward there.
I don't think they would have gotten if the sad thing is, I don't think they would have even have gotten Kevin Conroy if he was still alive. Because it looks like this was all just a James Gunn ploy. James Gunn has his own idea for what Batman is going to be moving forward. So he doesn't want you to remember any of the movie actors. That's why this Walk of Fame ceremony was so lame and lackluster.
That would make sense because why were they so thorough with the TV Batman but not the movie Batman? They were like, from Batman 1966 to Robert Pattinson's The Batman. But TV, they're like Titans and Harley Quinn and this and that and that and that. I'm like,
and Jim Lee should have just stayed home. I lost a lot of respect for Jim Lee.
Yeah, I did a little bit too, and it's and again, not that. I know we all like the Penguin series, but the fact that he mentioned Rotten Tomatoes as a metric to promote the Penguin, I'm like, are you serious?
Now that was funny.
Yeah, you're talking about see, and this is the thing, Penguin is a better series than DC deserves it to be because of the jerks in charge over there. They don't deserve a hit. They don't deserve anything. They deserve everything to continue to fail. So it's sort of like, on the one hand, it's like, well, yeah, you you guys got a hit on your hands in spite of yourselves. Listening to the way that they talk. I mean, you know what? They should have had Penguin at the Walk of Fame. Penguin has done more for Batman in these first few episodes of his TV show than anything that we've seen with Batman since Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we might as well just, make Penguin the new face of the Batman franchise, because literally he's the best. That it's that good. It really is. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about that on another stream, people. We're actually, we'll say more at the end. I'll say more at the end of that, but and also they did have Batman there though. They did get Batman there. That very awesome costume. I say very sarcastically. What was
I've seen Josh in better Batman costumes. I've seen cosplay that they could have went to Party City and bought a better costume than the one that they used there. In fact, there's costumes on eBay that are like movie quality of like Christian Bale's and Ben Affleck's and even Robert Pattinson. They couldn't have somebody wear one of those suits for the Walk of Fame ceremony.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. No, they had to have this. Well, so actually, I think it was Aaron Fisher. And Aaron Fisher, if you're watching this on replay and I'm wrong, please correct me in the chat. But I think he said that he theorizes that that's supposed to be the DCU Batman, not the person in the costume right now, but that costume design.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a James Gunn look. It's crappy and low budget, and it'll go along nicely with Superman, who looks crappy and low budget. So you basically, all the characters will look crappy and low budget. So yeah, I could totally buy into Aaron Fisher's theory. I think that what we're looking at is the future of Batman. Low budget, low quality, Party City-esque. And yeah, I mean, this is the future of DC. This is the DCU that James Gunn fans are so excited for. This is what we have to look forward to. And what I love is they know it's going to suck. They know it's going to fail. They know it's DOA, but they're still going to act like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's incredible.
Yeah, and apparently, okay, so they used that suit before. Well, if that's the case, that's even worse then. They use a freaking hand-me-down.
What do you mean from 2015? What are you talking about?
That's the one Zack Snyder
actually
spoke out for about Bob Kane. It was the exact same Batman.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
The exact same Batman. Probably the exact same actor in the suit too. Same loser, same extra. Like,
it looks like a Six Flags costume.
Yeah, Jaime Heimerstein, get in the suit. You're coming out. You're gonna be Batman for this Walk of Fame ceremony. We can't afford a real actor, and James Gunn will skin us alive if we get Ben Affleck to come here. So,
what about you, Joker? What are your thoughts on that Batman at the Walk of Fame?
That's not my Batman. My Batman's buff. My Batman works out. My Batman is movie quality.
Yeah, that's definitely not movie quality.
That's not Six Flags Batman. That's bad.
That's not even
That's not even Six Flags Batman. I've seen better Batman at Six Flags, to be honest with you. I have. They did several years ago, they did a Batman action show at Six Flags, and Batman was like, I think he was in like a costume similar to the Michael Keaton costume.
Oh, damn. But we all know that James Gunn doesn't like Michael Keaton. So...
Oh yeah, his comments on Keaton and Bale and everybody to play Batman, except George Clooney, are well documented.
It's abysmal, and it's like, I mean, there was so much better effort, like so much better Batman costumes I could have used. When I saw that picture, I was like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
Oh, wait a minute. I was going to say shout out to Ezra Miller in the chat, but that's not Ezra Miller. Okay, never mind. Okay.
But yeah, so I've lost my train of thought for a second. ZodWriter is always for the inside jokes. I'll tell you that. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just crazy how bad that was. Because like I was excited for this. I think we were all excited when we heard Batman was getting a star on the Walk of Fame. I know Josh, we both were because we were on the stream talking about it. And I mean, Zod, how did you feel when you first heard Batman was getting a star on the Walk of Fame?
Well, I mean, I thought it was cool, but I knew it was going to be gimmicky because we have to remember who's in charge over at DC right now.
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of hoping that this was something that was above James Gunn's pay grade, that this was like didn't fall under James Gunn's purview, but
no, it's cringy. It's cringy, just like when you watch the Penguin and then you see at the end of the credits you see the DC Studios logo. It's crazy, cringy, and makes no sense.
Unlike the movie we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So, and I do have to correct something. I think on the Batman Day stream, I said that he was the first fictional character to get a star. If I did say that, that's not true because actually Godzilla has a star. So I do have to, the Bat Channel's favorite character right now, the featherless theropod.
Well, if you guys are excited for something else coming out, you might actually get a chance to see something real.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. But overall, and oh great, Sox is here for our musical review.
We can talk musicals.
Oh my God, the man! I was thinking, when we all get together with Sox, we'll do a marathon. We'll watch Singing in the Rain, West Side Story. We'll throw in, a few really, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. We'll watch a lot of stuff because Sox. We want Sox to be into musicals. We know that's his favorite genre of film, and we're gonna celebrate that with our man Sox. So that's coming up, guys.
Cannot wait, Sox. I cannot wait to torment Sox. But I think at the end of the day, we can all agree that this right here sucked.
Was a sham.
I'll still go see the star next time in LA because I'm not gonna miss out on seeing the star itself. But the ceremony sucked, plain and simple. No, they don't, Sox. No, they don't. But anyway, now
shout out to all the Ezra Miller fans. Let's go to the Joker. Yes.
So,
and Ezra, we trust.
Oh my God, Zod, you're making me look like a tame Ezra Miller fan at this point.
Hey, listen, man. Ezra is life, bro.
And hey, Ezra Miller is innocent, as Chase Iron Eyes retracted on the statement, Variety and other Penske media outlets ignoring this. Just want to point out.
I just have to give you. I just have to. Before you start to talk about Joker 19, I just while we're on the subject of Ezra, I just want to say that stream that you and Josh did on Ezra Miller, I just want to say this publicly, was awesome. You guys did a great job, and I hope Ezra got a chance to actually watch that too.
Thank you, ZodWriter. I appreciate it. I know that when Josh, Joker, he's someone who's very similar to you, but when Josh shared that on his Instagram, I think Takata Iron Eyes actually saw that, viewed that story. And on my own, Brett Colbert liked the story of me sharing the Ezra Miller stream. So shout out to Brett Colbert for supporting that stream. So
yes, of course. Awesome.
What up, Sin Havoc?
Sin Havoc.
There he is, Sin Havoc. Another very important character in the One Punch Man franchise.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways, now Joker 2019. The first film. So obviously there's spoilers in this film because it's been out for 5 years. So if you haven't seen Joker 2019, I don't know what to tell you at this point. So, so we'll start with you, Joker. What's your thoughts on this movie? So this is going to be broken down like Joker Folie Duel. Just go kind of free range on this one.
Well, since we're talking this, I guess I do have to say, why so serious? So preface, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I was hospitalized earlier today in the emergency room. And shout out to Bat Dan. Bat Dan wanted to do this review separately as a before Joker, right, Bat Dan? You wanted to. I apologize for flashing everybody. I didn't mean to earlier.
No problem.
That was a joke. So I don't know if people know this about me, but I like to be a positive fan. I don't like to talk about things that I don't like. And I told Bat Dan, he asked me, would you like to? And I said, honestly, not really. I don't like to talk about things that I didn't like. But I gave him a alternative, and I said, maybe if you want to bring it up in a Joker 2 review and do like it together. And so Bat Dan obliged. Therefore, I didn't tell you this, Bat Dan, but for the first time ever, or the second time ever since I went to my free advanced screening to see Joker 2019, I attempted to watch this on Sunday. Now, when I say, okay, I just want to preface, because I don't talk a lot about stuff I don't like, because I am not a YouTuber. I always say that when I do YouTube streams. And then ultimately I come on Bat Dan's, because for me, a YouTuber, I would like them, if I'm watching them, to have like, knowledge about film, or, and I guess you don't have to be a film critic to be a YouTuber, but I don't know. I'm not going to watch like just anybody. I like to watch my friends or people, right? So I don't want people to think that I didn't go to film school. I'm not like some, smug guy, but I just watch film and I either enjoy it or I don't. Joker 2019. I don't have a ton to say about it. I got the joke, basically. And the joke was on the audience, and in my personal opinion. Now, if I separate this, I know the history, and I don't want this to go too long, but this was not supposed to be a Joker movie, but it turned into it, right? And so, in my opinion, this movie is about the idea of Joker, not Joker per se. And I do think, what I will say is that I do acknowledge that this is a good movie. Not in my opinion, but I guess if you were to go to like film school and cinematography wise, right, the way it was shot, the atmosphere, it is kind of like darker, Nolan-esque, right? For me personally, knowing that Todd Phillips was going for a essentially Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, Martin Scorsese-esque movie, I did my research. I had never seen those films. I'm not a film.
Did you watch those films, Josh?
I did. And
good.
I shouldn't have watched those, in my opinion, Zod, because when I did watch Joker 2019, I was like, wow, in my personal opinion, you just combined those two movies and put a little sprinkled some Batman elements in it, and thought, oh, this is it's so renowned. And for me, as someone who works in mental health, yes, as a human perspective and a story of Arthur Fleck, okay, I got it. But we'll talk about the sequel. I understand why people shout out to the homies like Skywalker the Jedi or Leon of the New Geeks enjoyed, or someone like Sky, was moved personally by the film emotionally.
For me,
No. Go
yeah,
on.
I did. I tried to. I engaged with the film. I gave it a chance. For me, it just didn't. It didn't hit the marks at the time. 2019. They had just had Endgame come out, right? We were dealing with Shazam had just came out, and so unfortunately, the movie just didn't. I didn't resonate with this movie for a character that I loved so much, and somebody who I have tattooed on my arm. Granted, it's a different version, right? I was realizing that this movie had really no. It was not concerned about the character of the Joker. It was, in my opinion, the idea of the Joker. And I got the joke. And for me, though, it just felt this wasn't needed. Now, art is just art, right? Darkseid is, in my opinion, Joker is, and art just is. It exists. And I can have an opinion about that. My opinion doesn't have to be wrong or right or trump anybody else's opinion or be better than anybody else's opinion. But I just want to say, as I start to reveal and come out of the closet, so to speak, on certain DC movies that I haven't liked, Joker 2019 was the first DC movie ever that I have not liked. I can acknowledge it's a good film, but I didn't enjoy it. Then it was compounded by the Suicide Squad. Hurt me, crushed me. I have the freaking tatted on my chest. Then the next year, the Batman. Did not like any of those, and we'll get into it. I have some interesting things to say about Joker 2. Did I like it? Did I hate it? Did I a little bit of both? So I will just say I told Bat Dan I don't have too much to say, and I've said a lot already. But I didn't enjoy the film. I tried to watch it again Sunday, and I fell asleep 4 times. But I tried. But that's just for me.
Okay, well, fair enough. And at least, I really respect you, Josh, for having that opinion, for giving your perspective on this. Because the thing is, I do love this film. I do, but I can see why certain people wouldn't like this film. I mean, I look at it more of an Elseworld film, so that's why I kind of give a lot of passes to this. And I shouldn't even say I look at it as an Elseworlds film. They flat out say it's an Elseworlds film. So that's why I give a lot of some of the comic accuracy passes to it. But there are some issues I have with Joker 2, even with it being Elseworlds, and we'll get more into that later. But before I go there, ZodWriter, what are your overall thoughts on this movie, Joker 2019?
From a film perspective, I thought it was great. I thought it was shot wonderfully. I enjoyed the homages to Martin Scorsese, and I thought, I've been a Martin Scorsese fan my whole life, so I'd seen all those films, and that Josh watched, for homework, and the thing is, I've always loved Martin Scorsese as a director. I've always thought his films are wonderful. They're always deep, and even if I'm not too into, certain plot elements, the one thing that we can say is that Scorsese knows how to make a film. I mean, the cinematography is always brilliant. It's always on point. He's always got something good going on. And so that's one of the main things that I really appreciated with this movie, because I felt like, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I heard Scorsese was supposed to be involved with this movie.
Oh,
early on, he was approached. He was either going to produce it. I don't know if he was ever on board to direct it, but I know he was supposed to produce it or have some sort of creative input into it or something.
It was marketed as supposed to be produced, but from what I heard, that was all a joke.
Okay, well,
it
could have been, yeah, it could have been, and but personally, I didn't hate the movie. I didn't see it as a Joker type movie in the way that we, traditionally see the character. And there's been many iterations of the Joker. So I didn't hate the movie. I didn't love the movie, but I definitely enjoyed the experience for what it was and looked at it for what it was, which was basically a psychological character study of Arthur Fleck's transition into madness. That's essentially what this movie was. This was about a deranged person, going further and further into the abyss, and this is what you got. So in that regard, I mean, I think it's very, eloquently done in terms of the psychological deterioration, where you get deeper and deeper into desolation and deeper into that loneliness and to that despair of how you're feeling when things are just going completely wrong and you don't have a way out, and this is the end result. And I mean, there's a reason why Joker, after this movie, became a symbol for rebellion, became a symbol for, uprisings all around the world, because it's giving in to that more negative and primal aspect of humanity. And I think that this movie does a good job with that, with the negative psychological aspects. When desperation isn't enough, and you fall even further below desperation. So in those aspects, I thought as a character study, I thought the movie was brilliant.
Well said, ZodWriter. Well said, and and that's kind of like my same sentiments of that movie too. Is that again, it's objectively as a movie, just seeing how a normal good person with some mental issues turns into this psychotic killer. I mean, you think about where Arthur Fleck begins. He's a guy struggling with mental issues, but he's working to get better. He's taking care of his sick mom, and then slowly and slowly, like it shows that humans have a breaking point at the end of the day. I mean, I would love to say that I'm someone who I would never snap, but and no one can say that about themselves, in my opinion. No one can say that about themselves. And it's just like, Joker's constantly getting bullied. They took his sign, no one was helping him.
The problem too, Batman, the problem is nobody knows, what that breaking point is. Even you as a human being don't know what it's going to be. It's like that saying about, one bad day, right? One bad element will make you snap, and you don't know why. They don't, half the time when they study somebody like that and people realize, well, why did this happen? What caused this person to snap like that? Nobody knows. But it's almost like, because it's a combination of all kinds of things constantly building up until the end just comes, and it's different for everybody.
Exactly. And honestly, with Arthur Fleck, some of the breaking points weren't really, I can't completely blame him for. I mean, they took his sign away, and no one helped him. And someone could have tripped those kids, but no one cared. And then honestly, when he's on the subway, I mean, not that I condone murder, but to be fair, they were beating him up. They were attacking him. I mean, in some ways, at least the first shot, can you say that was completely unjustified, him defending himself? The second or third one, absolutely not. They were retreating at that point. No. But the first one, I mean, maybe he should have gone for the leg instead, or maybe shot the gun up in the air saying, hey, back off, or worse is going to happen. Yes. But at the same time, it's debatable enough that it's that first step. And then he kills his mom, which again is bad, but then you find out the mom abused him. So it's not great, but not malicious reasoning either. I'm trying to say this in a way where people don't.
I don't think that this was a movie that was made to be liked, to be honest with you. I think that this movie was just made to,
Yes. I agree.
Again, as a character study and a way to just show, again, that descent into madness, but not necessarily, it's not meant to be a movie where you could be like, oh, this movie is fantastic. I'm going to watch it over and over and over and over and over again. It's like, it's one of those things that once you see it, you really don't need to watch it again or go back to it unless you are researching something, or again, Joker 2. So now you want to go back and watch this. But yeah, it was not a very pleasant thing to sit through.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you, ZodWriter. I mean, as much as I like this film, it's not like a film I've rewatched a lot of times. I mean,
Right.
I rewatched it obviously before this review, and and actually, I'll be honest, Liminal, I apologize. Yes, I actually love that aspect of it too. I love that they made that open to interpretation, that Arthur Fleck, Brute, is Batman's brother. Joker is Batman's half brother. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But they don't confirm that. And I really see, and this is what I think, not to get too far into Joker 2, this is what I like about this film that the second film didn't do, is that this film let it to our imaginations a little bit more. They left it up to our imaginations a little bit more. Because Arthur Fleck, is he the Joker, or did he just inspire the Joker? Because at the end of the film, he has all these other people dressed as the Joker causing riots. Even Joe Chill, I mean, they never call him Joe Chill, but the guy who killed Bruce Wayne's parents, even he wore a Joker mask. So you think, is Arthur Fleck the Joker, or is he not? Arthur Fleck is still alive, so he could be the Joker, but he's not alive.
It makes the Joker. It makes the Joker into the symbol that Christopher Nolan was trying to make Batman into with the Dark Knight trilogy. Christopher Nolan was trying to make Batman. There's even a line in the movie, in one of the movies, where Bruce Wayne says that Batman can be anyone. He can be a man. He can be killed. He can be destroyed. But Batman is a symbol. And essentially, that was the flip side of the coin that we were getting here from Todd Phillips, that the Joker is a symbol, that he can be anyone. So maybe that's the duality of the two-headed coin of, say, the Joker franchise and the Dark Knight trilogy. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely could get behind that. 100%. That's true.
But again, I see that's where I say that works in the first film, but that's why I think this worked better as a standalone film, because
yes, it did not need a sequel by any means.
And we'll definitely get more into that later. But again, I mean, I really did like that twist that, again, of being Bruce, of possibly being Bruce's half brother. I guess, what was your thoughts on that? On him being the possible son of Thomas Wayne?
Who are you talking about?
I guess anyone can go first. I guess I didn't have a decision, so you can start, Josh.
In the concept, like as an idea, I would say, it kind of like does make sense, right? But then I think, unfortunately, Dan, we'll get into it in the sequel, but that, like you said, I can respect. One thing, Zod, that I respect about this movie and what you're saying, Dan, is it left a lot for the audience to fill in the blanks, right? But in my opinion, you'll find by watching the sequel is that Todd is like, oh, y'all are going too far with this shit. No, taking it back. So I think in some aspects, the origin of Joker, right, was more of something for the audience to fill in the blanks. Is it the truth? Is it not? But then going so far, like Zod is saying, and having propelled this character to be something that it was never intended to be, but the audience took it, embraced it, and co-opted it into something that Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix didn't want. That is why the sequel was made. And well, it was made because Warner Brothers wanted fucking money. And Todd Phillips was like, oh, okay, well, if I have to do it, then I'm going to set the record straight for how I believe you need to interpret my art.
But Josh, how much of it, and here's my question too, how much of what we saw in the Joker was in Arthur Fleck's head? and how much of it was actual reality. Because for me, I kind of picture it almost like he's just a mental patient in an insane asylum, and he's having all of these visions in his mind of what he thinks is happening, but is any of it real? Is any of it happening? I have to question that, because especially in light of the sequel that we got. So it's almost like it makes you wonder, like, dude, you did this really happen, or is it all just a grand figment of your imagination? And that's why Todd Phillips was so pissed off that Joker became a symbol for uprisings and all this crazy stuff, and he decided he was going to do things differently than at the second time around. But here's the thing, Todd Phillips had to realize when he made this movie that it was going to be interpreted differently, because like we keep saying, film is subjective, and what you get out of it, or what the masses get out of it, you never know how people are going to interpret these things. So if Todd Phillips wanted it to be interpreted a certain way, then he probably should have been a little bit more on the nose, and he should have said, well, listen, all of this is taking place in Arthur Fleck's head. It's not meant to be taken literal in the sense that he's literally out there doing all of these things. Well, if that's not what you're trying to show, if that's not what you want, then you have to make that clear as a filmmaker. So to me, I feel like that's a failure on the part of the filmmaker if he wanted it to be interpreted differently from the way that it ended up universally being interpreted, again, with uprisings all around the world and stuff, because that's quite a feat. It's almost like the Joker overtook, I don't know if you noticed this, Josh and Batman, but it's almost like Joker overtook, V for Vendetta.
Yes. Because
for so many years, from V for Vendetta was the face of these uprisings. Everybody had the face and now it's Joker. The modern equivalent of V for Vendetta is essentially Joker now. Why? Because of this movie that Todd Phillips crafted. So maybe as a filmmaker, it was his responsibility to be a little bit more literal about what he was trying to say.
I agree with that.
He has to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean come back and make a shitty sequel and expect people to and then wonder why nobody's down with that. Because if you're going to go against the grain, if I was Todd Phillips at that point, I would have just embraced everything and went even further, threw the kitchen sink at it and just went full Joker. Fine. You want to go psychopath, go full psychopath, because at this point you've already opened Pandora's box, and now you're essentially trying to stick Pandora back in the box, and that's not going to happen. So I'm really, and to me, I come away thinking about Joker 2019 right now, more disappointed in Todd Phillips than anything else, because I feel like as a filmmaker, it was his responsibility and he blew it.
That's a fair point, ZodWriter. That's absolutely a fair point, is that I think he should have done one or two things based on what you said. He should have either just embraced what happened or just said, hey, I effed up. But the thing is, it was still a great movie. He still made people like the movie at the end of the day. And even maybe they shouldn't have liked the movie, but that's just what it...
Right. It's like I was saying, Batman, this was not a movie, obviously, that was made to be liked. It was meant to be a character study of a deranged man descending deeper and deeper into madness, essentially. And it's clear that that's what Todd Phillips wanted. But again, at the end of the day, Todd Phillips didn't do a good enough job conveying what he wanted the audience to see, is what I'm trying to say. How does he expect the audience to take all of this when he's not giving us any context to think about it, where, because some of us can sit here and say, like I'm sitting here saying, well, now I question what actually took place in Arthur Fleck's head and in juxtaposition to what took place in reality. And that's what I'm trying to figure out now, because now I can't go back and watch Joker 2019 the same way, because now I got to look at 2019 and say, well,
yep,
it obviously wasn't all taking place in Arthur Fleck's head because of what he turned out to do. It's almost like it's almost like the same thing with the Star Wars, not to get into Star Wars or anything, but like with the sequel trilogy where you watch The Force Awakens and you see all of these things being set up in that movie, and the audience is supposed to interpret it a certain way or take it a certain way. And then somebody comes in with the next one and just totally turns over the table and basically undoes everything that was done in that first movie. So I feel like you're kind of left in a similar spot here where there's expectations because you set the bar pretty high. I mean, I think he set the bar high for Joker to where people, the reason why it was so successful was in spite of him, because now it sounds like he didn't expect it to be successful like it was either.
Yep.
He just wanted to make his little movie, and now I can kind of tie it more into the conspiracy stuff with Jared Leto's Joker and stuff. It was made just as a ploy to keep them from being able to make a Jared Leto Joker movie. That's the whole reason it exists. That's why everybody was baffled. All the executives were baffled by the success of the movie, because the movie was made just as a way to make people kind of forget a little bit about Jared Leto, forget about the Snyderverse, forget about all that, focus on what we're doing over here. And then it became an international symbol of rebellion, and they realized how badly they'd screwed themselves, because now the movie is a symbol. Now the movie is taken on a life of its own. It's an actual entity outside of cinema. When you're seeing, rebels around the world wearing Joker masks, you're not sitting there, you're not thinking of Jared Leto, you're not thinking of the Snyderverse, you're not thinking of the comic book character, you're thinking of Arthur Fleck, you're thinking of what Todd Phillips created in 2019. So to me, this is an example of a director, Todd Phillips, biting off more than he can chew. And it's almost like, to paraphrase the movie, he got what he deserved.
Yep.
Well said, ZodWriter. Well said. And I honestly agree with everything you said. And I think, without spoiling too much of the topics, I think that's going to actually come. I think in some ways this film failing might be a bit of an advantage for us in this panel. And I'll explain why when we get to that topic, based on what you just said, though. So, but overall, though, just to kind of wrap this up, I did like this movie, and I think this, as an origin, this could work for me as Joker without it being Joker. And yeah, I think this is going to be. I mean, I don't really want to say too much more because honestly, I don't think I can top what ZodWriter said. So at this point, we're just going to move on to the rating. So just kind of give your quick rating for this movie. We'll start with you, Josh. And be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm not saying this in quality. I am talking about my own personal ranking. Okay. Because like I said, this is Sunday was the first time since it came out. Me personally, I know I'm going to get hate. It's fine. I would give it a 5 out of 10.
Okay, I guess Josh is no longer welcome on this show. Just kidding. I appreciate you giving your honest opinion. Anyway, finish what you were saying, though. I won't kick you off this time.
No, just a 5. That's it.
Okay. What about you, ZodWriter?
I have a bit of a different take on the rating, and I'm gonna give it to you in 2 parts. For me, if I take the Joker as just a standalone movie, taking it at face value of what we were getting depicted, from Todd Phillips, when we thought Todd Phillips knew what the hell he was doing, I would give the movie a 7 out of 10. But knowing what we know now, and after having seen what's happened and all the stuff that he said and how he's, basically tried to essentially walk back everything he tried to give us in this movie and then he's turning around and he did what he did with the movie we're about to talk about. I have to give it a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
I really feel like knowing what he intended versus what he got, you're better off if you. Here's the thing, and this is what I would say to anybody that has not seen these movies. You're better off watching Joker 2019, taking it at face value, and ignoring anything that Todd Phillips has to say. Don't look at any of the behind the scenes. Don't research anything. And God, whatever you do, don't watch the second one because you're going to come away feeling really, really cheated. You're going to come away feeling something totally different. So there you go. My initial rating is a 7 out of 10. I think the cinematography is beautiful. I think the movie was shot well. I think, it was a great character study, but then in light of things, 3 out of 10.
Well, and that's a fair point, ZodWriter. I totally understand sometimes I think sequels can make the previous movies retroactively better or worse.
Movies, like everything else, like books, TV shows, change over time. I don't care what anybody says. They change over time because we as people continue to evolve, and they say that we change as human beings. We change every 7 years. So if that's true, that makes sense as to why you would, it's like you have a filmmaker that comes back and revisits his project and has a completely different, vision 7 years later. That's what I'm afraid of. 7 years from now, am I going to be looking back at One Punch Man in a different way and saying, well, gee, now it should have been this, it should have been that. I have to believe that as a filmmaker, when you have a vision for something, you have to be willing to stand by your convictions and stand what you put out there. And you have to be able and willing to allow your film to speak for itself in the way that Zack Snyder does, in the way that Martin Scorsese does. And Todd Phillips would have been wise to take a page out of Martin Scorsese's book and to just let the movie speak for itself. Why do that? Why start something? Well, that's not how I intended. No, nobody cares what you intended for it to be. Let the film speak on its own merits. So
I agree. I totally agree, ZodWriter. And I'm going to say take your own advice with One Punch Man. If people interpret it differently but like it, keep your mouth shut, ZodWriter. I'm going to tell you that right now. Don't say anything.
That's how I'm going to be. I'm going to do my plan for One Punch Man is to do a commentary track with you, Josh, Qatar, and Bishop. The four of the group of us will do a commentary track on that film. And you guys will say what you say, and then I'm going to want to revisit it a few years later and see if anything's changed, because by then there'll obviously be another one and whatever. But the idea here is that, you want to, I don't mind getting the initial thoughts, get the initial thoughts right out there. But at a certain point, like right now, I feel like it's a little too late for Todd Phillips to basically be indicting his audience at this point, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
You took it wrong. You went in the wrong direction. I wasn't telling you to do that. I didn't mean for Joker to become a symbol for world rebellion. That's not what I was talking about. Well, you moron. That's not the movie that you set out to make. I don't know how much Gunny Poo had to do with what we got, but we'll talk about that later. Good Lord.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. And for me, I'm going to give this film, I'm going to look at this film for this rating. We'll look at the film by itself without Joker Folie à Deux, just looking at this movie right here, and plugging my ears for what Todd Phillips said. I give it a 9.14623898586 out of 10. I love the film. I think it's a great standalone film, and regardless of the circumstances behind it, how it was made, regardless of what happened afterwards, to me, it works as a great Elseworld film. And yeah,
but I have to ask you, because then we've had these conversations, and you say if they make another one, then they gotta make a trilogy now. How do you feel, Dad? Because now I'm gonna hold you to the things that you said.
We'll talk about that later on, Zod. I can't talk about that for obvious reasons, but we will.
But it's just I just wanted to say it now so I didn't forget. So good. As long as you're going to reference it, and I'll try to remind you later if you don't. But I want to hear that, because we had that discussion. Because I love how you keep saying standalone, and I agree with you. That's what this movie should have been, a standalone. If Todd Phillips was going to make another movie, it should have been another Elseworlds character story on a different character. It shouldn't have been about Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck's story was told. We didn't need to see anything else. So for me, it's kind of like, well, you know, what do we do here? Are we trying to make a trilogy? No, apparently not. But I mean, now I feel like even if he wanted a trilogy, he wouldn't get one. So I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, you know why he wouldn't get one of those, ZodWriter? Because of this, the box office. And I want to bring this up before I forget. Sox was asking, do you think? I don't think so. I don't think he put effort into it. I don't think he put as much effort into it. But I think there were a lot of other parties who wanted that film to fail, and I think
I have a different view on this, though. Can I answer Sox's question as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a different thought on this, Sox. I don't think he necessarily sabotaged it. I think he got more enthusiastic about making a second one when he saw how people interpreted the first one. Because he didn't expect the first one to be the success that it was either. He felt like he was going to do a one and done, which is why he said everything he needed to say in the first one. And the second one, so now the second one is almost like damage control for the first one. This one sent the wrong message. It's almost, that's kind of like it's almost like so it's not that he purposely made it fail. It's that now he's trying to walk back what he already put in place. He didn't want to make it fail. He was hoping that the majority would follow him with the second one and be like, oh, okay, Todd, now we see what you're trying to do. Now we see what you wanted to do. Okay, this makes more sense now. But it didn't work out that way for Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips it'll probably be a while before Mr. Phillips makes another movie.
Unfortunately, yes. So what about you, Josh? I guess what's your thoughts on Sox's question?
Yeah, just we'll get into it more, but I do not, in my opinion, Joker was made to get Joaquin Phoenix an Oscar. They got what they wanted. That was all the intention.
That's a good point. That's a good point too.
There was no Batman and Joker were co-opted, and all the comic book shit were co-opted as a Hollywood ploy to elevate an actor, help him with his career, and help Todd Phillips, get the story that he wanted to get told, which I commend him. You're an artist. You can do what you got to do. But, when you make Road Trip with Tom Green, and Old School, which I love, that's my boy Blue.
And the Hangover films.
But, that's something that I have a problem with too, Zod, is like I said, I did love Taxi Driver and I did love the King of Comedy. In my opinion,
Both
like
are
you
brilliant.
were saying, if you want to be Scorsese, then be like Scorsese. Don't be like, no, you're not playing with my toys the way you're supposed to. And in my opinion, he had Todd Phillips did not want to make the sequel. Joaquin Phoenix did not want to make the sequel. Gaga, unfortunately, in my opinion, wasn't in on the joke though. And
I want to recommend a movie to you, a Scorsese movie to you, Josh, if you have not seen it, called After Hours.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about it, but
I suggest you watch it. I think you'll find it interesting. I'd love to get your view on it.
Okay. I loved, like I said, I loved Taxi Driver and I loved King of Comedy, and then I watched Joker and I was like, so yeah, you're just trying to be Scorsese, but not be Scorsese. Okay. But I digress. Yeah, I sad about the box office.
Well, I want to kind of say something about the box office, though. The reason why this movie was made, as a lot of people don't know, while Joker was technically a success, Joker 2019, in some ways it was actually a failure for for certain people in DC, particularly Walter Hamada and Toby Emmerich, because as what some people don't know, Warner Bros. Didn't actually make most of the profit off that film. They sold the film, they sold most of the production to different production companies. So Warner Brothers, of that billion, they made a very small profit. Ironically, same deal with Barbie too, by the way. But that's a topic for another day. But with Joker, they made such a small profit that that's a big reason I think why the sequel was made, because they wanted to get, okay, we lost our billion because we sold the production value. So now we're going to make a sequel. But here's why this film worked. The first film works so well with the budget. The budget was low and they made $1 billion. So when you have a higher budget, unfortunately, that means the film has to do even better for it to be a success. And
that's what they were banking on. They thought, as stupid as they are, I mean, again, this is the same studio that, left all this money on the table after Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is the same studio that refuses to release the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. Okay, they're not very bright. All of their decisions are so piss poor that it's almost like they want their studio to be an epic failure. It's almost like that's their goal, to make this the most underperforming failure of a studio in the history of motion pictures. I feel like that's what they're trying to do here, because none of their decisions make any sense. It's like you said, if this box office, we're going to give Todd Phillips a bigger budget to make a walkback movie. That's the stupidest thing you could have possibly did. Give Todd Phillips a bigger budget and then tell Todd Phillips, okay, get Bryan Cranston and do a character study of Lex Luthor. An Elseworlds character story of Alexander Luthor Sr. And you get Todd Phillips to direct it.
I like that idea. Unfortunately, I don't think it'd be Bryan Cranston, because he actually hates that casting. He hates people try to cast him as Lex Luthor, apparently. So
if you do it in the style of Todd Phillips with the Joker and that gnarly cinematography, and you do it in a more grounded way, he wouldn't be the Lex Luthor that we know. He'd be the Lex Luthor of that grounded reality that Arthur Fleck came from. You'd have a more, I could see it in my head how it would go. I could see it would be almost Shakespearean, almost King Lear-ish if it was done by Todd Phillips and it was done by, I don't think that Todd Phillips is an untalented filmmaker by any means. I just think he's disconnected with what he was trying to do with Joker. I think he got so caught up in what Josh was saying, with the Scorsese angle, that everything else just kind of, went by the wayside, and he totally lost sight of what he was trying to do. But could you imagine the idea, from a box office perspective, of someone like Bryan Cranston in that role of a senior Alexander Luthor, from the perspective of a rich multi-billionaire, and all of these different things. And the thing would be great is he would never refer to Superman as Superman in the movie. Anytime you heard Bryan Cranston talking about Superman, he would say the Kryptonian. And you would never, and how Todd Phillips would do it, you'd never see Superman in the movie, right? You'd never see Superman in the film. So, but anytime he was talking about Superman's feats or Superman's deeds, he'd always, because you don't want him humanized by calling him Superman in any way. You want to dehumanize him as much as possible. So Cranston would call him the Kryptonian. Anytime he mentioned it. And I just have this idea in my head of what I think And if Warner Brothers was smart, that's the kind of movie that they would have approached Todd Phillips to do. Whether it was Bryan Cranston, Daniel Day-Lewis, or some other top-tier actor to play Alexander Luthor. At that point, that's what you do. You don't follow up on a story. I mean, no wonder the box office is so low. This could have been like Todd Phillips' anthology of films about these villains. It could have been like a little Elseworlds and Villains anthology. What do you guys think? That could have worked, you know?
Oh, absolutely, ZodWriter. I totally agree. And I think, and actually, I have an idea for who I think another idea they should have done, but that's for the spoiler section. But I really love where you are going. I really do. And because I do want to say some stuff about the box office before we move on to our Joker 2 section review. But Josh, I guess what's your kind of thoughts on what ZodWriter just said?
I agree with you, Zod. Like there did not need to be like you said, the movie was, it's Arthur Fleck's story. It was more, and like in my opinion, the idea of Joker wasn't about Joker at all. And I think, like you said, the elements he was focused on, I think the Batman stuff was the last thing he was really, right? He was interested in making like a movie that never was this Batman movie. That's what he was always focused on, and then had to use those elements. Okay, well, can I borrow this just to get it greenlit, WB? And WB is like, yeah, go ahead. Okay, now we'll do it. It's a comic book movie.
I'll take it one step further, Josh. Penguin perfected it. Penguin took his idea, took the Todd Phillips aesthetic of what Todd Phillips was trying to do with Joker.
Yep.
It basically actualized it with Penguin.
Penguin is so good. I agree.
Oh, absolutely. I actually love what you just said, Josh. Penguin did a really good job because at the end of the day, this film was bad. It did worse than anyone expected. And, it's so funny because I want to kind of bring this up real quickly is that, when The Flash failed, people blamed all this on the controversy surrounding Ezra Miller. And I'm not saying that the false allegations, and I'm saying the false allegations because, again, chaste irony is retracted for people who choose to remain ignorant. But anyways, the point is, that's not the only film that failed, though. The Marvels failed. Morbius failed. Like, superhero movies are not doing well. Blue Beetle failed. Aquaman 2 didn't do as well as it should have done. The point is that, I did mention some Marvel brands, but like the Marvel movies, but the DC brand is not doing well. The superhero genre is not doing well. I know we had some exceptions like Deadpool and Wolverine, but the reality is people are tired of the same old thing, and DC in particular did not do well because people need to remember James Gunn hurt DC a lot more than people realize when he took away that Henry Cavill announcement. When Henry Cavill announced he was back as Superman, people were excited for DC again. That was the most excited people were for DC since the Snyder Cut got released. That's just the reality of it. And then James Gunn took that away, and he killed any excitement for the DC brand. I firmly believe that if James Gunn did not take away that Superman announcement, Shazam 2 and The Flash would have done much better in the box office. Because one, Zachary Levi wouldn't have opened his mouth about certain things, so people might have not hated him as much. And then people would have seen the Flash film because it wouldn't have led to nowhere. So people are upset with the DC brand in general. So I think the DC brand had a lot to contribute to this. But also this film, people realized that it was such a one and done film. And because like this film, it did worse than The Flash, it did worse than the Marvels, and it apparently did worse than Morbius, which I know Josh had something I know he wanted to say about it doing worse than Morbius.
Oh, I just thought it was just hilarious. I started seeing the actuals come in, and it actually only made like 37.7 million over the weekend. And so now Morbius was trending earlier because every picture
They
was
got what they deserved.
you
They
get what
got
you fucking
they-
deserve.
Exactly.
Josh, say what you told me backstage though about Morbius doing better, or we were talking about this backstage. You said you wanted to talk about this particular ironic thing backstage.
No, I just think that, it's funny that the last laugh, it's he who laughs loudest, basically. What else did I say? I forget what I said.
Morbius
Check
is a
private
better
chat.
film. Morbius is a better film than Joker 2. Let's be honest. It's a
I
better
would
film.
agree with that.
It deserved to make more money.
I enjoyed
Oh,
Double.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it since I guess you don't remember how our Snyderverse Joker did better in a movie starring him than
Oh yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix. That's the point that we were talking about backstage, is that Morbius, our Joker, Jared Leto, the Snyderverse Joker, did better than this movie.
And
So
I would
it's
agree with
kind
that.
of
Yeah. It's a better movie. Morbius is a better movie.
The irony. The
Yeah.
irony.
The irony. Oh, Todd.
Oh, interesting, Sin Havoc. Thank you for confirming that. Well, I mean, he
You
has
mean
to return.
Zack Snyder's Joker? Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, because someone else isn't really fighting for his Joker right now. But he's the one who cast Zack Snyder's Joker in the first place. But that's a topic for another day. But
Did y'all realize that the first reveal of Jared Leto's Joker with the playing card that Zach gave with the photo that was blurred out with the long hair? We didn't see it initially, but it was very, in my opinion, reminiscent of the first reveal of Joaquin's Joker makeup. And that, do you remember that, Zod, when he was kind of like, it was just.
Oh, I do. I remember.
yeah.
Again, it goes back to my earlier point, Josh, about the idea of we're supposed to forget about Jared Leto's Joker. We're supposed to forget about the Snyderverse. We're supposed to forget about Ezra Miller. And we're supposed to look at Joaquin Phoenix, this Academy Award winning actor that is just going to, take the world by storm playing this role. I'll tell you right now, you got Joaquin Phoenix, you could have get, Daniel Day-Lewis could have played it. Daniel Day-Lewis could have pulled off Arthur Fleck just as well. Jared Leto could have did a brilliant standalone Joker film if he would have been given the opportunity.
And I kind of honestly, when I don't know if you saw Willem Dafoe, everyone wants Willem Dafoe to be.
Oh yeah, because he just has the facial features of.
It's Norman Osborn Joker.
Yeah,
it's the same character. Right?
Yeah, it's the same character. He could totally do it.
When he was interested in being in a sequel and being a fake Joker going against Arthur Fleck, I was like, okay, I'm interested now. But no, we're not going to go down that route.
Yeah, instead of going down a more natural progression for a sequel that would have made sense, dude wants to walk it back and wants to say, no, you interpreted the first movie wrong, so now I got to do damage control with the second movie. It's like, no, that's not what you do as a filmmaker. When your movie makes $1 billion, you embrace what people liked about that one, and you continue with that. Regardless of what you initially thought, you got to embrace it for what it is. I can't tell you the number of filmmakers who have come out and said that in over time, where they may not have liked initially how their film was received or what people interpreted from it, and then when they came back and they made future films after following up, they embraced what audiences enjoyed so that they could continue telling the story, and it worked out just as well. You build upon your success, like what Bishop is saying right here. It makes so much sense. You build on your success. You don't spit in the face of your popularity and say, oh, I didn't want $1 billion. I only expected for this movie to make a modest box office. I didn't want $1 billion. I didn't ask you for $1 billion, but toy. And he spits in the face, literally spits in the face of the audience, and you literally see the spit dripping down the lens in the sequel. It's just give me a break.
He doesn't care about the performance, right? Because he got paid up front. He got $50 million. Joaquin Phoenix got $50 million, and apparently Gaga got close to $50 million. Therefore, leading the rest to be it's a $200 budget, right? Apparently around there. So So
50.
That's he doesn't care about the performance. So what Sox was asking, it makes sense to me. He doesn't care. He got paid. He's good. He's in his,
Yeah, I actually was sitting there thinking to myself, my God, this movie maybe would have worked better in some ways without the musical elements.
Oh yeah.
Just because
Oh, yeah.
you have Lady Gaga in the movie doesn't mean it has to be a musical. I mean, is
yeah.
that gonna? But the reason I'm bringing that up now is because I want to correlate it to the box office. Do they
Okay.
think that by making it a musical and having Lady Gaga in it, that was going to contribute to the box office, that was going to make it a box office hit, because you were going to have Gaga fans come out like the way they did for A Star Is Born, to the remake of A Star Is Born, to come out and actually support this movie because they support Gaga. Does Gaga have that legion of fans that they think they're going to be able to appeal
Apparently
to?
not.
That's what I'm saying. That was the point I was trying to make. You know what? It was the Gaga fans that went to see Joker, Folie à Deux, and everybody else stayed home.
Yep. Testify, Zod.
Us needed to review it for content creation, but yeah,
Of course.
I totally agree. And the reality is, this film did bad because at the end of the day, it wasn't good. If this was a good film, people would have seen it. Word of mouth would have spread and people would have seen it. That's just the reality of what would have happened. And it didn't. At the end of the day, I don't want to get too far into this, but the reason the film did bad, at the end of the day, two reasons. The DC brand is tanking in general, and the film's quality was just not good. That's just the reality of what happened, And it sucks because I'm not gonna lie. I wanted this film to do well in the box office. I wanted it to succeed in the box office, and in some ways, regardless of how I feel about this film personally, part of me wanted it to fail because I wanted Gunny Poo to be upset about it. But we'll get into, I guess, Gunny Poo later on. But at the end of the day, the film did what it did, and it's heartbreaking that DC's last film before the DCU started did bad. So
I want Todd Phillips to get his balls back and to come out and actually say, listen, the reason this movie turned out the way it did was because of James Gunn's ransom notes. That's why the box office is so low. That's why it failed. That's why it's so watered down and pussified, because of Gunny Poo. And that's what I want. If Todd Phillips comes out and says that, I'll retract all the stuff I said about Todd Phillips.
Well said, ZodWriter. Well said. I love, Zod, you're really ending these topics perfectly. You'd have great final words. So now we're going to get on to the spoiler warning, people. Okay, I'm telling you guys right now, spoiler warning. If you have not seen this movie, this is your chance to get out of here right now. If you have not seen Joker Folie à Deux, leave unless you don't care about spoilers. If you don't care about spoilers, then welcome. Anyways, but I'm going to give a countdown right now. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Arthur Fleck dies at the end. So you've been spoiled, and now we move on. And I love that shirt, Josh.
It's one of my favorites.
You're not going to get your third movie now, though, Bad Dad.
Oh, no trilogy. Hashtag no trilogy.
Unless Arthur Fleck somehow survived the stabbing by Heath Ledger at the end of the movie. I don't know.
Well, I do have something that debunks that theory, and we'll talk about that when we get to the ending topic. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. When the second movie's bad, I always get mixed feelings about that theory. I was actually, I did think about that though, Zod. When he did die, I did think about that, and I thought of a perfect sequel. Well, before I saw this film, I thought of a perfect sequel. Joker 3 could have been 3 Jokers, where they could have got Joaquin Phoenix, Jared Leto, and I'm going to be very nice, and I'm going to even say Barry Keoghan or whoever that.
No, what you do is you get Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix, and you get Johnny Depp to come in and pay homage to Heath Ledger's Joker and play Heath Ledger's Joker, so that you have the three Jokers represented properly.
I like that. And since it's not technically the
Not
same
Barry
universe,
Keegan.
hey, I couldn't think of another Joker at the time, but yeah, that's a good one, ZodWriter. I like that. And what up, Darth Plato? And just so you know, we're at the spoiler warning, Darth Plato, so I hope you've seen the movie. And yeah, because I think Johnny Depp was actually a friend of Heath Ledger's. That's why he was one of
Yeah, well, he was rumored to. In fact, I think Johnny Depp, there was a movie that Heath
Yes.
Ledger did
I know what
where
you're talking
Johnny Depp
Imagine-
came in and filled in for him. The Imaginarium of Dr. Pegasus, I think it was called.
Parnassus.
Parnassus. Yeah.
They had 3 different people replace Heath Ledger because what they did is they incorporated a story element to it where they weren't going to do this initially, but when Heath Ledger died, they decided to have it be that he changed his appearances. The character, so that's why they had 3 different actors replace him. And one rule they had was it had to be within family. So that's why Johnny Depp was allowed, because there was some actor who wanted to also be part of it, but he wasn't close enough to Heath Ledger. So that's why they were like, sorry, we can't use you, because they had to be people who were close to Heath Ledger. So that's why Johnny Depp was one of them. And yes, Zod, I did hear about that rumor that he was supposed to be Heath Ledger's Joker in what was The Dark Knight Rises, and maybe they should have done that, but that's
I think that would have been an excellent tribute to Heath Ledger's Joker, to have his friend Johnny Depp come in and carry on the legacy and keep the character going. See, there's nothing wrong with that. That's respectful when an actor dies. You have an actor who was a dear friend to another actor coming in and carrying on the legacy of that actor. I mean, what would have been wrong with that? Christopher Nolan could have got Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp would have did it, and you would have been able to finish that storyline instead of us. The last time we see Joker in Nolan's trilogy, he's hanging, and that's it. We're based. The audience is literally left hanging. We don't know what happened to the Joker after that. We don't know. It was just left unanswered. It's one of my biggest criticisms about the Dark Knight trilogy. How do you leave one of the most chaotic characters of the trilogy, one of the most important characters in Batman's mythology? You just leave them hanging, and never to be dealt with ever again. How do you do that shit? Especially when you have the ability to bring in somebody like Johnny Depp to come in and finish it off, and who would have did a brilliant job in honor and service of his friend. I don't know.
I agree with you, ZodWriter. And to be honest, I was even bothered by the fact that Christopher Nolan didn't want to mention Joker. Like, he went out of his way to not mention the Joker. He said this on record that they were not going to mention the Joker at all because they didn't want to account for the real life tragedy. And it's like, there's a story you got to tell people. You still got to tell the story. And that in some way...
Just because the actor dies doesn't mean that the character does. And that's the thing that filmmakers of the modern era need to understand. They need to stop being pussies and start realizing that when you have a story to tell, the show must go on. And it's not about being disrespectful to the actor. It's about honoring the actor's legacy. And I think that they're doing this all wrong, because I honestly feel like when you have an actor, and an actor knows he's sick, and an actor knows he's going to die, like I'm gonna say it right now, like Chadwick Boseman from Marvel, right? Black Panther. He knew he was sick. He knew he was dying. He knew he wasn't going to live for very long. So do you really think that he wanted he wanted T'Challa to die with him? You really think he didn't want his character to go on? As an actor, you have a legacy. You want your character to continue on. You don't want, if just because you die, your character dies. That's to me, that's more disrespectful.
Well, it's not writer. I actually want to say something to what you just said. I think it was, I saw in some video, I could be wrong, but I think even Chadwick Boseman's own brother was saying that he was for recast T'Challa.
Yeah, because what you're doing is get the right actor who's going to continue to honor the legacy of what came before. As long as you don't make a mockery of what came before, like what James Gunn is going to do with Superman, making a mockery of what came before. As long as you don't make a mockery of what came before and you're respectful about it, the audience will get behind it. It's only initially when a tragedy first happens and an actor dies, you're sad, you're mourning the loss of that actor. But as time passes, you realize, okay, there's a story to tell here. We still have a character. He did a great job building this character up. Now it's our job to continue it, our job to carry it on out of respect for for our fallen actor. That's what you do. Why I cannot understand this mentality of, oh well, the actor died, so now we gotta forget that the character ever existed.
I agree with you, ZodWriter. And in fact, I even thought of a good story way they could have recasted T'Challa. You open up the film, you have him in his Black Panther suit, and then you use archive recording of Chadwick Boseman for the opening battle, and then he gets in a battle, gets his face disfigured for some reason or whatever, and then after some plastic surgery, his vocal cords get affected too, and that's why he looks different. So they could have even made it work story wise too, even though they've recasted plenty of people,
Yep.
like they even did with William Hurt for the new Captain America movie. So I agree with you, but anyways, though, spoiler warning for Joker 2. And now we're going to get started on the coup de grace. So now we're going to get into Arthur Fleck, aka Joker. We'll start with you, Josh. I know you have a lot to say. What's your thoughts on just this character in general in this movie?
Honestly, I was very taken aback. In my opinion, Todd chose to go. In my opinion, by the end, even though I didn't like Joker 2019, I think by the end of it, he was embracing Joker, right? He was on the top of that car. You know, I did appreciate the scene of him doing that, right? And to the people, right? I'm Joker, right? And then it felt like they just regressed Arthur Fleck's character. And I understand you got locked back up, right? And he's on medications, but then you're just, in my opinion, making the character go backwards. There's no progression.
Yeah.
And that was something that I was just so thrown off by. And, you know, he's also, I guess, I did like and appreciate, because I didn't, you know, I had only saw Joker twice now. So the songs, you know, That's Life, and, you know, certain songs.
They were all happy songs. You noticed that? They were all supposed to be happy, as dreary of an environment as that was. Every song had to do with happiness, if you remember.
And like, I'll be honest, like, as someone who works, I don't know, I can't answer exactly why I didn't, you know, Joker didn't resonate with me. But as somebody, you know, as a human and somebody who worked literally in some place not as fantastical as Arkham Asylum, but could be constituted as the equivalent of Arkham Asylum, right? You see the word, the reason why it's called Arkham Home now is because in our society, we live in a society where you can't say that. You can't use those words, asylum, right? You can't even though the DSM, actually the diagnosis for the clients that I serve are mentally retarded, I, as a qualified mental health professional, cannot use that word. I have to say intellectually and developmentally disabled, right? So Arthur Fleck, I feel for that character, right? But that's a made up character. But you see him so endearing, you know, being a pawn of the guards, right? That one scene, which I think is so sweet, but it's humiliating at the same time, where the inmate comes in like, hey, Arthur, the guard said I can get my first kiss from Joker. I've never been kissed before. And he kisses him, right? And he just does it so sweetly, but then he just goes and is like, can I have a cigarette now? Because Arthur's just a pawn in this whole controlled structure, right, of society once again. I was just kind of like, we're doing this again? In my opinion, there was just so much already. Like you said, Zod, he was in the first one. You're not supposed to like it. It's not an enjoyable movie. This hits keep coming after him again and again and again, and just dragged through the entire movie until he cracks, right? And then we're doing it again to this character. Todd, do something different. Like, this arc of this character, for you really think about, Arthur Fleck literally goes nowhere throughout Folie à Deux. He
Mhm.
starts in Arkham Asylum, pathetic and miserable, and ends in Arkham Asylum, pathetic and miserable. And all he does is just go and indict the first movie. It's the trial of the first movie, is what it is, in my opinion. And it's a trial of the audiences who enjoyed the first movie.
Yes. It was Todd Phillips indicting the audience of the first movie. That's what it was. We were on trial for enjoying the first movie. That's what
Yeah.
it was.
It's being presented as the trial of Arthur Fleck, and it's not. Arthur Fleck is an avatar now for everything that Todd literally. I don't know. Did either one of y'all actually stay through the credits?
No,
Okay.
but I do know that DC Studios wasn't mentioned at the end.
There was a lot of talk about, some people in this community about, well, we shouldn't give Todd Phillips some, flack because he opened the door for DC Elseworlds. Well, if you stayed through the entire credits and listened, you hear the music, the Oscar-winning composing music. But then you know what you also hear at the end? A fucking door slam. That's what you hear, because that's Todd Phillips slamming the door on DC and this DC Elseworlds. He has no fucking desire to do what y'all think that he was going to do with this. He used it,
Want to do
in
that?
my opinion, to get what he wanted and help Joaquin get what he wanted. And they're good. They got what they wanted, but they used, once again, Arthur Fleck to point and laugh at the audience. And in some ways, Todd is the Joker. Todd is Arthur Fleck. And so when I talked about earlier, did I hate it or love it? I started based on the homies. Some of the homies loved this movie. And I was like, okay, let me watch it again. So I watched Folie et Deux, like I did Joker 2019, a second time from the comfort of my home. And I respected it a little bit more. But then I realized Todd wanted this chaos. Todd is Joker in this scenario. In this movie, Todd also introduces a little anarchy. And so I started to be like, I hated you, Todd Phillips. And now I'm kind of like, I don't like you, but I kind of get the joke that you're going for in this one a little bit more. I still don't like the movie, because you used it to your own purposes.
Mhm.
But you were so deliciously manipulative that is an essence of Joker that I actually did respect in the second one. And it's not necessarily the Joker, it's just the idea of Joker. So Arthur Fleck is unfortunately the character, obviously. Like he says, there is no Joker. And Todd explain that by slamming the door at the very end. I can send it to you if you need to see it back then.
Oh no, because I would never I do not ever condone piracy on this channel, Josh.
I didn't
do not
say
ever.
that. I did not say that.
Oh, I'm just saying, if it is a piracy thing, I do not
I
want
did
you to
not
send
say
it
it
to
was a
me.
piracy thing.
Okay, just want to be sure. Just want to be sure. Just want to be absolutely
Well, I just
sure.
heard the back check.
No, there was no back chat, people. There was no back chat, people. But anyways, we got a lot to get through, and I know we don't have that much time. So, ZodWriter, your thoughts just on Arthur Fleck and Joker in general?
I wanted to see the Joker, not Arthur Fleck, regress back to Arthur Fleck. At the end of the first film, Arthur Fleck was dead. The Joker persona was in full effect. That's what it should have been. And what I expected with all the shenanigans in the courtroom, I expected him to fully discard Arthur Fleck and basically tell everybody that Arthur Fleck was the act and the Joker is the real person. I expected him to go full Joker in this movie, and for us to, because the real Joker would not have cared about all of this. The constant regression and all the things that Josh was talking about here. You don't regress a character like the Joker. Once he goes Joker, he never goes back. And if he does go back, he's pretending to go back. He's not going back because that's really what he wants to do. So for me, yeah, he was just a poor, deranged lunatic that got what he deserved. To be honest with you, like at the end of the movie, I really felt like he got what he deserved. He really did. Like I was like,
I started laughing sinisterly when I did.
He's getting shanked in the hallway, and I'm laughing. I'm thinking,
yeah.
Good. This is what you deserve. You don't stand by your convictions. You don't stand for anything. Stand for something. You fall for anything, and that's what happened here. He's getting not only that, he didn't even get the girl. He didn't even get the girl at the end.
Oh,
He failed. He failed. Lady Gaga looked at him like, you know what? You're a loser. I'm out of here. Bye.
And that's the exact opposite of what normally happens. It's not Harley Quinn who leaves Joker. It's Joker who leaves Harley Quinn, and Harley Quinn chases after him. But that's the funny thing. It's like the exact opposite. You got Joker chasing after Harley Quinn instead of Harley Quinn.
She chased after him because she believed he was the Joker. But he proved in that sham of a court performance that he was just Arthur Fleck, and the Joker was just his fantasy, which to me was dumb. And I just don't think that if you really cross that line and become the Joker, that you're going to go back to Arthur Fleck. There's no redeeming you. You don't redeem the Joker. That's where Todd Phillips made his mistake. You don't redeem someone like that. If you're going to go that route and you're going to create the world revolutionary that you created at the end of the first film, you don't backtrack that. You don't say that would be like Emperor Palpatine at the end of Star Wars, at the end of Return of the Jedi, coming out and saying, no, you know what? I was wrong. And he goes back to being just a simple, politician. I was wrong. I made some mistakes. Can you forgive me? Can I have your vote in November?
Somehow Palpatine redeemed himself. That's what we're. I agree with everything you guys both said, though, because it's because you mentioned Palpatine, justice for fives real quick. But anyways, I guess that was like my issue is that at the end of Joker 1, he is the Joker. He's in full effect. He's Joker. He's running around chasing guards. But for no reason at the beginning of Joker 2, he's broken down. He's beaten. And I'm like, where did this come from? We saw at the end of the movie that he's Joker, and now he's Arthur Fleck again. It'd be like watching, since you brought up Star Wars, it'd be like episode, let's just pretend Star Wars was made in chronological order for a second here. It'd be like Revenge of the Sith, he's Darth Vader, but then in A New Hope, all of a sudden he's Anakin Skywalker, and it happened off screen. It's like, no, we got so invested in this character in this first movie, and just looking at just for my point, forget comics, forget any comics that we know about DC Comics. This is an Elseworlds tale, so as far as I'm concerned, anything goes as long as it's good storytelling. The problem is we got so invested in seeing Arthur Fleck become the Joker, and him even escaping at the end. I guess he didn't really escape, and then he's just back to normal Arthur Fleck at the beginning of the movie. It's like, what? And then he slowly becomes Joker again, and then he's not Joker. It's just a weird vibe. But here's the thing, though. They said, like I said earlier, that I like the idea that you don't know if it's Joker or not. Like, I was fine with Arthur Fleck not being the Joker, but I wanted that to be a mystery. I wanted that to be up to our interpretation. But now it's not, because as we know, someone else kills him and he laughs like a crazy Joker. But also too, this guy had Harley Quinn. Does Harley Quinn Lee Quinn run to that guy next? I mean maybe, but that's the biggest thing. It should have been. They took away the mystery. They took away here's the one thing. Once you leave something to your imagination, it's very hard to take that away from us, because the reality is nothing is ever going to be as good as our imagination. I'll even say it, like, even my imagination, if I wrote it down on paper, it wouldn't be good. It's why I think, now maybe they went back on this, but I think that's why The Walking Dead, they said they do not want to say what started the zombie apocalypse or the Walker apocalypse, since they don't say zombies. But or the series they don't. I think the comics they do. But anyways, I think they said at least at one point. I don't know if that stayed the same. I lost track of Walking Dead. But the reason why they wanted to keep it a mystery was because the instant you bring an explanation, the mystery, it's no longer cool anymore. Now, and that's the thing with Arthur Fleck, is that you took away the mystery of whether he was the Joker or not. So now it's a lame answer. It's like, oh, he isn't the Joker after all. But my thing too, even if he was the Joker, in some ways that also would be lame in some ways too, because again, it's the mystery that made it great.
He's not the Joker. He's just a deranged lunatic like he was in the original film, cosplaying as this entity in his head that he basically decided to betray.
And real quick, Sin Havoc, how could you be so racist and hate the Acolyte? You racist piece of shit. How could you hate women and people of color, Sin Havoc? I mean, you're to hate the Acolyte? I mean, really? Wow. I mean, Sin Havoc, I thought I knew you better than this, man. Which, for those of you who know, if you know, you know. We'll just say that, because certain cast members of Acolyte like to make poor excuses for their show failing. But that's
The power of one.
the power of two, the power of many. But I want to kind of, before we move on to the next topic, before I saw the Batman, mind you, before I saw the Batman, Joker came out, and I liked that film. I was thinking, I think they should connect this film to the Batman trilogy, which I know that contradicts a little bit what I said earlier with the whole mystery thing. But if they weren't going to go the mystery route, I wanted Arthur Fleck to fall in a vat of chemical acid that also put him in suspended animation, so that when he woke up, he would be caught up to the Robert Pattinson Batman timeline. And again, I hadn't seen the Batman yet at the time. It hadn't come out yet, so I was being optimistic about that movie at the time. And I was thinking, maybe that's part of Matt Reeves' universe, which actually, that would have been kind of clever too, but they didn't go that direction. But anyways, that's, yeah. So point is, that's my issue, is that, again, I liked Joaquin Phoenix performance-wise, he did a phenomenal job. He did a phenomenal job, in my opinion, performing.
Oh, he plays an amazing mental patient. I'll tell you that. 100%.
Good one, Darth Plato. I love that. And now let's move on to, I'm going to be honest, this may be a hot take. One of my favorite parts of the movie is Lee Quinzel. I mean, just performance-wise. I'm talking, performance-wise, Lady Gaga, I think, in my opinion, did phenomenal in that movie. I'm not going to lie. I think she did a great job performing the character, playing a crazy mental patient. I thought she did great. In my opinion, Zod, you could have gotten the Lady Gaga fans without throwing the musical element in. Just have Lady Gaga there. I thought that could have been.
That's what I thought too. I didn't think they needed any of the musical numbers, because none of the musical numbers were particularly memorable. So
the music
it just took up unnecessary screen time. Like, why'd they need to do that? The movie could have been shorter if not for the stupid musical numbers.
I think,
and I'm not even against musical numbers. I just think that in this particular movie they weren't needed.
He just needed to stretch out the story, Zod, because he didn't want to make it. That's really what I believe. He's like, I'm just going to drive up the budget, put songs on it.
Put some songs in there, songs that we're going to have to pay for, but we're going to make sure they're all happy songs. And because none of them were original, they were all licensed music. So nothing was like, they didn't write new songs for. I mean, they should have hired me. I would have written the songs for this movie. I could think of quite a few that I would have did. Like, come on, you got Lady Gaga, for Christ's sake. You could literally, you could have, if nothing else, the musical aspect technically could have redeemed the movie if it would have been done right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and actually, just for you, ZodWriter, we'll we'll transition to that one next. But Lee Quinzel, I guess we'll start with you, Josh. What's your thoughts on Lee Quinzel in this movie?
To be perfectly honest, just a little bit background, like Gaga for me, it sucks for me to say this and admit this. She's a Beehive member. I'm a Beyonce fan. But like the more that Gaga, music wise, as a fan, the first I knew about her, she's become more herself now, right? She started off as more this packaged pop persona, right? And that's when people fell in love with her, like myself. And then she started becoming more herself. And then I'm like, I don't really like the real Gaga. So then she started doing acting. And to be perfectly honest, I started to be like, I watched her in American Horror Story and watched her do some dark stuff on season 5 of Hotel. And I was like, do I like Gaga more as an actress than I do a singer? And I started to be all in with her. And I did like her in like House of Gucci and some other performances that she made.
She was good in the Star is Born remake as well.
She was. I will agree with that. And I did not hate that movie. It's pretty good. But unfortunately, I did not. This performance did not resonate with me at all. I did like certain. I'm trying to think of things I did like. The one look that she had, I didn't really like her looks either. Her singing, literally, guys, I kid you not. I went to advanced screening. I said this, and I'm not making this up. Every time a musical number would start, our audience groaned, and it was usually because of Gaga. And it wasn't bad, right? It wasn't like bad singing. It was just like, you probably have seen this review where, Arthur Fleck is telling her, please stop singing. Stop singing. That's literally how felt through the entire thing. Like,
yeah, we didn't need the musical numbers. She's a competent enough actress. You didn't need music.
The one I was trying to think, because I watched it the second time, I was like, just to try to like, honestly, that was why I watched it again. Just like, okay, I love musicals, actually. Sorry, Socks, but I do too. I actually love musicals just like you. But I could not remember anything. And so the one that I kind of am okay with is when we're going to build a mountain at the very end, when Joker's in the blue suit and he's tap dancing and she's playing on the piano. I kind of like that one, but it just got so insufferable for me throughout. And I love musicals. That's what I'm saying. It didn't do anything. It didn't take big strides in how it was. I thought maybe Todd would go all out and like go crazy, extravagant, all these dance pieces and just crazy iconography. And it wasn't
like the stuff we got in the Killing Joke had better musical numbers. The animated Killing Joke movie, bro.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think just failed so miserably in this movie is the musical stuff. And I hope, what I would like to think, Zod and Bat Dan, in a conspiracy, is that Todd hopefully maybe knew that the audience is, because he didn't want to make this. He's like, so I'm going to make it a musical, and I'm going to put a huge bill for WBD to sign me, Joaquin, and Gaga, and then I don't think the audience is going to like it. And then I'm just going to take my paycheck and go home. That's the only way I could like rationalize it. And it unfortunately is being all reflected on the Lee Quinzel. And I'm sorry. I thought that was so tired. Oh, she's too good to be called Harley Quinn, so we're going to nickname her Lee, because all these creatives got to put their own, like we talked about with Cape Crusader, Bat Dan. Oh, we're going to call her something else, and then it's making it our version because we need the residuals when it becomes popular.
Well, that's why they named her Lee, because they knew that when the next iteration they were going to do of her, Harley Quinn was going to be, a heavy set Asian chick.
Yeah. And so something like, we got to make it our own for the residuals. And I'm sorry, didn't really. The only look I did like was when she's walking into the courtroom and she's barely in it, but just it's the red overcoat with the lines. And my cousin, she told me, she was like, oh, I actually like that look. And I was like, yeah, at least there's one that I like. But unfortunately, this is Harley Quinn. For me, Lee Quinzel was not Harley Quinn. What about you, ZodWriter? What do you think?
I was just disappointed. I felt like they shortchanged her in that movie because I know she's a better actress than this. I know she can pull stuff off, and she's a better singer too. I don't know if you noticed, but like it seemed like the songs, they were trying to make them sound out of tune. They were trying to make them sound really atrocious, which is why the audience was groaning with every time they would start singing, because they don't have singing voices. It's like when Batman tries to sing. It's like, give me a break.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Everyone's getting kicked from the stream. You know what? But if you set through the credits, Zod and Batman, you actually hear them singing well. Both Joaquin and Gaga. You hear them singing the versions better.
Yeah, in the credits. I remember that. In the credits, they were done a little better, but like in the movie, it was horrible. It was like nails on a chalkboard bad. And most of the songs were like that, and none of them were good. None of them were noteworthy at all. There's nothing. There's like any musical number that you can think of. There's always a song. Like for me, the Muppet movie, it's Moving Right Along with Fozzie Bear and Kermit the Frog in the car singing as they're driving cross country. Any musical you can think of a song that stands out. If Joker Folie is a musical, how come none of the songs in the musical were memorable? How come you can't really remember one of them? Why? Because none of it was good.
And that's what I think Todd did. Once again, just like with the
forgettable.
First, he was using things and elements with things he really didn't care to take precious care of, in my opinion. Like with the Batman stuff, like with the Scorsese stuff. He's like, let me play with this, but I'm not really going to go all in and make it, the best it can be. I'm just going to half-ass it, in my opinion. And that's what it showed on screen. Every single person, I kid you not, got up to use the restroom at some point during Joker 2 advanced screening. The first time we're seeing it, I was like, all right, when she is talking to him on the glass and starts singing, I was like, I'm going to the restroom. And then of course my cousin went after that, and then my friend went after that, and the whole theater throughout the screening was doing it, because it wasn't enjoyable. It was not enjoyable, unfortunately, for me in our theater.
I agree though with you, Josh. I agree with you completely. It's like every time a musical element came, all it did was detract from the story. And I want to make this clear. I said from the get-go, because a lot of people were saying, well, they always said it was going to be a musical. I was concerned about that. I said, if executed correctly, it could be done really well. Because I thought it could be like a great way to play into the psychosis. But it wasn't executed properly. All it did, it felt like a detraction of the story. Because I have a different take from you. Lady Gaga, just as Harley Quinn herself, or Lee Quinn herself, I actually liked that character. I thought she was an interesting character, and they incorporated the psychology background, which I liked. And I don't mind that they gave her a different nickname, Lee Quinzel, because they kept her real name intact. That's why I was okay with her being Lee. But it's not like Oscob, where they actually made his last name Cobb. That bothers me because they actually changed his actual name versus a nickname. But I
think he's going to do the same throughout the series, but we'll go ahead. I digress.
I think Lady Gaga, performance-wise, I thought she did great. I thought she did a great job. What she was given, not so much. And I think the musical elements, again, it didn't work for me. So yeah, as you see, it kind of just merged the topic, since you guys kind of just talk musicals. I'm like, yeah, let's merge this topic. So anyways, yeah, I thought Lee Quinzel was an interesting character, but the musical aspect didn't work. Again, they could have just done this movie with Gaga without the musical. Show something different. Show a different side of Gaga. It's like, here's actually, since we're talking Batman a little bit, Mayor West on Family Guy. They specifically did not want to give Batman references to him because they didn't want to just do the same old thing with him all the time. That's what I feel like they should have done, the Family Guy approach in some ways, with Lee Quinzel, with the Lady Gaga. Just do Harley Quinn. Like, give her something else to be known for besides musicals, because by forcing this to be a musical because of Lady Gaga in it, they basically said, okay, Lady Gaga, she has to be associated with musicals now. She can't be associated with anything else. So that's why if they had just done without the musicals, this movie would have been better. And I think this would have been better with just Lady Gaga as an actress. So yeah. point is that could have been something better, and it wasn't. So now we're gonna move on to Harvey Dent. And ZodWriter, to answer your question, this was who I was thinking would have been a good character study. Harvey Dent and his descent into madness.
I agree with you. That would have been another one they could have did. He could have did Joker, Lex Luthor, well, Alexander Luthor Sr. and Harvey Dent. That could have been Todd Phillips' trilogy. He could have character studies on all three of these major characters.
Yeah, and Josh, we'll start with you. What do you think of Harvey Dent in this movie?
I don't really have a ton to say. Once again, I just felt like this was a character that was just there. He was an avatar to be the defense.
He didn't have to be Harvey Dent either,
Contribution.
honestly.
That's what pissed me off. And that's what I think to me, looking back for the first Joker, he didn't need to be connected to Thomas Wayne or Bruce Wayne or, any characters related to Batman. And therefore, that's why I rolled my eyes. I didn't really care that Harvey Dent was in this movie. He got scarred in the side of his face. I did not care. I did not like the first one. I did not really like the second one. Like I said, appreciated some behind the scenes dark aspects that the movie, in my opinion, that Todd is trying to cause, antagonizing his fans, because it is chaos right now online or in the YouTube space. So that is the essence of Joker. But once again, you're playing with ideas and IP and property that, in my opinion, you really don't care about. You're in it for yourself and you're in it for Joaquin, and you got paid, but you don't really care about these characters or these properties. So
100%.
I didn't care that Harvey Dent was there, honestly.
Fair enough. And you, ZodWriter?
No, Puddles was a more interesting character than Harvey Dent.
He was.
Movie. Puddles stole the show. Harvey Dent, I could care less. I got to agree with Josh 100%.
And I feel the same way. I feel like, they used Harvey Dent because, this is a Batman story.
And here's the problem too, using Harvey Dent, you basically destroy your little theory that you tried to cultivate for the end of the movie. They tried to, the whole thing with the end with the young version of Heath Ledger. You kind of ruined that if you make this character Harvey Dent. It doesn't make sense because this Harvey Dent doesn't get scarred here. Nothing happens to Harvey Dent until the Dark Knight trilogy. If there's supposed to be a connection there, that ruins that connection.
Unless you want to just say, that was my father, that was Harvey Dent Sr., and I did a district attorney to honor my father. But again, if you have to play that much mental gymnastics for it to make sense, then it doesn't make sense. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's Harvey Dent Sr. You're right. I stand corrected. Okay.
He does say he gets his father's lucky coin, so
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point, Josh. Yeah.
I know the Dark Knight trilogy very well.
So maybe Bat Dad, maybe what you just said is exactly what we're supposed to glean from this here. Yeah.
And the scar in the face is just what happened to his son, but if you don't go by that theory, again, it's felt like, when I'm going to call him Salvatore Moroni, they don't give him a name, so I'm just going to say Salvatore Moroni because that's who does it in the comics. When Salvatore Moroni dressed as a Joker, blows up the courtroom and scars Harvey Dent, it's like, again, they did that because, that's in the comics, but that's the thing. It's like, do you want to be Elseworlds or do you not want to be Elseworlds? Because that's what this movie feels like it's trying to do. It's trying to be its own thing while also trying to be like the main continuity. And fun fact, I don't know if this is true. I read this somewhere, but supposedly Bruce Wayne was supposed to die at the end of Joker because Todd Phillips wanted to establish it as an Elseworlds. But then Warner Bros. Was like, no, you're not doing that. But in some ways now, based on what happened here, I wish they did that because then it would have, I might have forgiven some of what this film did a little more if they went in that direction. Because then it's like, this is an Elseworld. Anything can happen. But it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. And that's what they felt.
That's the problem.
Nailed it, back. And have its cake and eat it too. And nobody feels satisfied.
Right. Everybody left the theater hungry. That's the problem. And I ate when I was watching the movie, but I was still hungry when I left the theater. So for me, that's never a good sign when you leave the theater hungry.
Mhm.
Exactly. And actually, we're going to get to the courtroom scene very soon, but just want to go over a couple of minor characters real quick. The guard and the lawyer. What are your thoughts, Josh?
I mean, I liked Brendan Gleeson, Mad Eye Moody, Mad Eye Moody. Great character. Loved him in Banshees of Inisherin, co-starring with Penguin on on Max. But he was. I realized watching it the second time that Jackie really does subconsciously incite everything with the inmates, right? He's the one that introduces all the singing. He's the one who really gets jollies off of being attached to Arthur Fleck, like being assigned to guard Arthur Fleck, right? He gets him into the class, but only because he wants to sing on the piano, right? And then when the saints come marching in and the inmates, shut the fuck up, you know? So I did like
Where are the Saints now, huh?
yeah, that scene is when Jackie and the other guards, you know, it left to interpretation, but as I took it, this whole movie was the rape of Arthur Fleck, literally and figuratively. So that's how I
100%. That's what the movie should have been called.
Yeah.
Joker 2, The Rape of Arthur Fleck.
Because that's what it was, right? And that's what you see when you see Arthur Fleck, you know, after he's been assaulted, face down, you know, hearing the Jackie strangle his, you know, cellmate to death for singing. It goes quiet, right? And that's when Joker dies for Arthur Fleck. I did love Marion Stewart, the lawyer, just because of other roles she's done, and I did just the scene. It always sticks out in my mind when Arthur, after you know meeting Harley and kind of getting you know his jollies off, you know, and he just kisses the lawyer, and she's like, oh, Arthur, and she's just so taken back by it. She's like, "Are you okay?" You know, and then because Arthur is just he's feeling confident about himself, right? And he's just so her performance and her how she worked in that scene, she was just kind of like she was almost kind of like flattered by it, but also disgusted, but also just concerned. So I loved how that actress portrayed that scene. But yeah, and then how she's talking after he fires her. She really cares about him, right? But he's too far gone, unfortunately, to the delusion, but then gives up the delusion at the same time. So I don't get the movie. The structure. Why are you going to waste our time like going through all this yammering for no reason? You just raped Arthur Fleck because of the spite of how the fans really embrace the character. So anyway, what do you think, Zod, about Jackie and Marion?
I'm with you with everything that you said. I agree 100%. In fact, there's really nothing else that I can add to what you just said about those two characters. Jackie was a bit of a bastard. If I'm gonna be honest, Jackie was a bit of a bastard. I feel like the lawyer really cared about Arthur. She genuinely cared about Arthur. It wasn't like, idolatry like the way Gaga was with Joker, because she didn't care about Arthur. She just cared about Joker, where you could genuinely see that the lawyer genuinely felt for Arthur. And Jackie was just a manipulative bastard. I mean,
exactly. Jackie was like a stereotypical inmate guard. Is that he abuses his power, picks on inmates because he can get away with it, and again he enrolled Arthur in that class because he wanted to sing. And he even rushed Arthur to get ready because he wanted to catch the movie himself. He said that. That's who he is, and a piece of shit. But the actor did a good job. And I did like the lawyer character. I like that there's someone who's trying to see the human side of Arthur Fleck, someone who's at least trying to get there. Obviously, she couldn't, but she was making a real effort. Like when Jackie and the other guards didn't give Arthur an umbrella, she's like, "Why didn't you give him an umbrella?" but she's also realistic. She's not trying to get Arthur acquitted. She's trying to say, this guy is sick and needs help. He needs to be moved to a real hospital. But she wasn't going to take Arthur on the street. She was going to get him actual help. That's what she was trying to do. And then even when she was after she got fired, she spoke on the radio. You could hear in her voice, she was upset that Arthur fired her. Because for Arthur, I mean, she wasn't upset for herself. She'll get other work, no problem. But Arthur, representing himself, isn't going to work, and she knows that. So, yeah. I think, again, Josh kind of said everything that Zod and I wanted to say. So now let's move on to the courtroom scenes, and we'll mix it up a little bit. ZodWriter, you seem like you wanted to talk about this, so we'll start with you this time.
Well, what irritates me about the whole courtroom shenanigans is Todd Phillips basically teases us when he has Arthur Fleck come in to the courtroom in full Joker garb. We are led to believe at that moment that it is now the Joker representing Arthur Fleck, which could have been brilliant, which could have been amazing, which actually could have added, to the great acting of, Joaquin Phoenix. But unfortunately, they decided to just make it stupid and make it uninspired. It was that whole courtroom thing was a very uninspired performance on all fronts, everyone. And that judge, that judge wasn't believable either.
Oh,
I was watching.
It was Scorsese.
Yeah. I was watching it thinking to myself, my God, this is insane.
He's let a lot of stuff go for someone who's like, well, I'm not going to turn my courtroom into a circus. I'm like, he kind of let a lot of stuff go that I feel like a normal judge would not have let go. Like,
it was a circus. It was, to me, what the whole, the whole court of villains that you see in like The Dark Knight Rises, what the court of villains would have been like had the Joker survived to be in that. Imagine what a court of villains could have been like. And I kind of thought that maybe we were going to get a little bit more. Well, I mean, the movie was called Joker, Folie, right? So we were expecting maybe to get more Joker than what we got. Instead, all we got, like Josh was saying, was the rape of Arthur Fleck on every level, and the courtroom was another part of that. And then, as if that wasn't enough, then you parade little Puddles into the courtroom, which I thought was the standout. I felt like Puddles was the best character in the film.
Absolutely.
And you didn't even want to make Puddles a topic, but Puddles was brilliant in this movie. He came out and basically his whole role was an exposition dump of what happened in the first movie, but he did it in such an emotionally powerful way that it resonated as if it would if it was an actual, that actually felt like a courtroom testimony to me. And then when he was talking to Arthur, this is when we realize that the Joker is dead and Arthur is just a broken man, because you start to see Arthur break during the whole Puddles conversation, because you realize that Arthur still has a genuine affection and a genuine care for his friend Puddles and doesn't want to hurt Puddles, didn't want to hurt Puddles' feelings, was not trying to traumatize Puddles in any way. But that whole part, to me, that was the standout of the courtroom scenes. I think that made, that was a little bit better. And if more of the courtroom had been like that instead of the circus that we got, the circus without the Joker, I think it would have contributed to making Joker 2 into a better movie. But for me, that's really all I have to say about the courtroom scenes. I think that it was all just exposition and garbage. Again, this was the trial of the first movie, the trial of the fans that resonated with the character from the first movie. And it wasn't good. Uh, I think they made Harvey Dent a slick car salesman kind of character. He wasn't believable at all in the courtroom. He actually looked kind of corrupt, to be honest. I don't know if either of you caught that, but to me, he kind of looked corrupted. So I would actually like to believe that he was Harvey Dent Sr. Now that I think about it, because he really didn't represent the character of Harvey Dent very well. So I think we should strike the courtroom scenes from the record. And the thing is, the courtroom is like the whole second half of the film. So it's impossible to do, but yeah. Oh, and what's her name? The chick from the first movie. What's her name? Zazie Beetz. What's her name? I didn't expect her.
Yeah.
I was surprised that they brought her back, because I thought it was implied in the first movie that he killed her.
It was kind of up to see. That's the thing. Zazie Beetz. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it was implied. That's the thing. It's where I say it was left to our imagination, but it's like, nope, it's not. So I guess that ambulance we heard was just Gotham City ambulance. So I guess, Josh.
Yeah, because Gotham City, 911 is so reliable, right? To me, seeing her kind of plays then with the whole idea that the majority of what we see in these movies takes place in Arthur's head. I don't think I have to question every single experience. When I seen her come to the stand, it was like, well, if she's alive, then that means that it's all fantasy. How much of it was real? How much of it is the thimble from Inception? What's real? It's all in his head. Yeah, the whole thing. I feel like the whole thing is in his head. I would go as far as to say, Sin Havoc, that basically these whole movie, I could see Todd Phillips taking both of these movies at one point and just making one super long movie, cutting them together, maybe adding some incidental stuff that we didn't see, some extended material, just to resell it later on as an epically long character study of Arthur Fleck. And then you change the name of the movie and you call the movie Arthur Fleck, or you call the movie The Rape of Arthur Fleck, and you re-release it as one long movie. And the Joker is just a figment of his imagination, just a story. All of the Joker stuff I believe now, after seeing this sequel, that none of the stuff we see with Joker is actually real. None of it actually happens. Very little of it. He's imagining it. Like every time he gets thrown in the hole where that's when he's imagining, because he's in isolation and he's imagining all this Joker stuff. The Joker is like the Joker is like an analogy for his empowerment, right? So, when he's the Joker, he's feeling empowered, but all he is really is weak, pathetic, mental patient Arthur Fleck. That's all he is. A sad, lowly, incel individual that Todd Phillips wanted us to hate, and because we didn't, he gave us the finger by making this movie. So there you go.
Sorry, just laughing at Bishop's comment. Josh, what are your thoughts on the courtroom scenes?
Just kind of like what Zod said, I didn't really care for them, other than, like I said, the only reactions, I kid you not, guys, it was dead silent. The movie audiences were not reacting to this film other than groaning when the musicals came on. Oh. However, the one scene that did make people chuckle a little bit, just barely, like, was when Mr. Puddles is being interrogated and Arthur Fleck, I'm not even going to call him Joker, Arthur Fleck is doing the voice. Maybe you didn't know who I was. And then, the Martin Scorsese's like, I'm not going to let my courtroom turn into a circus. Mr. Sir, don't you think it's a little bit too late for that? Like, so little things like that made the audience laugh. But I did not react at all. But I will say that that was the highlight of the movie for me, was the scene between Puddles and Arthur Fleck. And unfortunately, that was a scene which they released before the movie. So I saw that scene. So I basically saw the best scene of the entire movie, in my opinion, the entire movie. So I was just kind of like, wow, I just could have stayed home. But no, I'm gonna at least give Art a chance. I gave it a chance, and courtroom scenes were boring, in my opinion. Could have done with that one. Could have done with that.
I agree with you, Josh. I totally agree with you. I think the best scene was Gary Puddles, where we saw and him being sad that Arthur was the only one nice to him. That one broke my heart. But other than that, it was a joke to me. No judge on earth would let Arthur dress as a clown, like in Megan. No judge on earth would let a lawyer do that. I don't care what kind of bullshit explanation they try to give. That would not happen. If someone knows an actual precedent for that, correct me in the chat or the comment section. But that to me just would not happen. And yeah, courtroom scene just were not that great, except for Gary Puddles. He was the best. Everything else was bad. And now we're going to move on to Gunny Poo Strikes Again. I don't care what they said about, James Gunn, I gave notes. Todd Phillips, I didn't take his notes. There is no way in heaven and earth that opening scene, that animated opening scene, was not a James Gunn note. That was 100% a James Gunn note. Like, I'll be honest, I watched Skywalker's spoiler-free review, and he said the opening scene was definitely James Gunn. When I saw that scene, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what Sky is talking about. And that was abysmal. It had nothing to do. And when that scene ended, that felt like the biggest tonal shift ever. You went from this weird comedy to, to a serious movie. I mean, like, it was just weird. And it didn't contribute anything. What was the whole point of that?
James Gunn wants you to know that his presence is there in every single DC project. That's what the purpose of it is.
Yeah, well, exactly, Zod. But here's the other thing, too, with that. Think about it. If James Gunn gives notes on this movie, he's in the clear either way. The movie succeeds, my notes save this movie. The movie fails, this wasn't my movie. But what it does, it puts him in a position where he can play it to his advantage either way, like the Flash film. If the movie succeeded, my notes.
He said before the Flash that the Flash was the best superhero movie he'd ever seen. So right there, he's
Yeah.
So exactly. I don't know how you backtrack from that with the movie flops. I mean, what do you say now? Regardless of personal taste, he said that the movie was the best superhero movie he'd ever seen. So what higher compliment can you give a movie of that caliber? Come on.
Exactly, ZodWriter. And Josh, what are your thoughts on this? The animated scene, or is there anything else that was totally gunny poo?
To answer your question, it was just further way. I think that, in all honesty, I think it was a James Gunn note, but I do think that Todd indulged it, because if you think about it, because I rewatched the movie second time, it spoils the movie. How that cartoon bit ends is it's 3 guards that hold Arthur down and assault him, which is the rape of Arthur Fleck, and it ends with blood going everywhere, but it's essentially signifying the destruction of Arthur Fleck, the rape of Arthur Fleck. So if you think about it, and I think some people misinterpreted it as, it's showing, the first movie, and it's like, no, it's spoiling the movie. So I think
it's spoiling the movie. If you saw that cartoon, you saw the movie.
Exactly. And so when you watch the actual movie play out, you realize, wow, and subconsciously, I don't think audiences realize, like, you're set up to be disappointed by that cartoon, because you're like, they did.
It's a big psyop.
It's the big raping. You're about to see the rape of Arthur Fleck, and then they show you the rape of Arthur Fleck. So, and then they slam the fucking door in your face at the end of the.
Okay, this stream is so going to get taken down with the amount of times the R word has been used in this movie. Oh, I'm just gonna say.
Rape, 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 rape.
I didn't know that was a taboo.
That's what's happening.
It's okay. It's okay. It's at this point, whatever. At this point, but yeah, I'm just joking around with you guys. Yeah, though. I get what you're saying though, exactly. And it's just
Okay, Arthur. That was funny, Arthur.
And I guess Josh, was there any before we move on to ZodWriter, is there any other scene in this movie that happened? It was like, oh, that's a Gunny Poo note all the way.
I honestly don't. I don't necessarily believe. Like, I do kind of believe. Like I said, I don't think Todd cared. So I do think if notes were given, I think I don't know necessarily. You know, I'm no James Gunn fan. Y'all know that, but I don't think that it would. It makes sense to me if. Here's where I'll play devil's advocate. We know Todd Phillips is a friend of Zack Snyder, right?
Yes.
So like we were talking about earlier, how, in my opinion, Zack Snyder's first reveal of Jared Leto's Joker, in my opinion, what I was alluding to, even though you didn't see Jared Leto's face, it looked kind of, in my opinion, the silhouette of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker with the long hair, right? So then when we finally saw what Jared Leto looked like, I was like, oh, okay, is Zack, when I said it in the group chat, I was like, I think Zack knew what he was doing with this picture by showing that, right? Because it's reminiscent of Joaquin. So Todd got his Joker, and Zack's like, well, I'm gonna give you my Joker, right? And I would like to think, maybe it's probably not true, but maybe Todd was like trying to give Zack help. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna help kill this franchise for you, because I'm gonna have to work for this motherfucker, the head of the co-head of DC Studios. Fuck that. So I want my movie to fail. I'll take your notes, and when it fucking flops, slam the door in the fucking faces. So probably not. Probably just Todd just being, you know, self-indulgent and a prick and being selfish. But he got his art made regardless. He got the first Joker made, and he got this one made. So it's no sweat off of his back. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, Zod.
I don't get it either, and I'm with you 100%. You know, we can kind of maybe look at it like that because, like you said, you know, he's a friend of Zack, so maybe this was that. You know, this was and yeah, I say any filmmaker that has to work with James Gunn, take his notes, because if when it flops, you know why. It wasn't you. This is not what you wanted to do. But hey, he was already checked out, and it's well documented, like you said, that Phillips didn't want to make a second one. It's very well documented. He said that. I think he said that during the production of the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That he doesn't want to do a second one.
So multiple times.
So I'm not, I'm not. So should we really be surprised that this is what happens? Because when you're forced to do something you really don't want to do, you're like, okay, I'll take the money. It's kind of an offer I couldn't refuse. Okay. But yeah. But yeah, Gunny Poo had his little thumbprints and everything. There were little bits and pieces throughout the movie that felt very James Gunn-ish,
But I do find it funny though how the Penguin is DC Studios, but this movie's not. This movie apparently was just based on DC. And James Gunn said it's not DC Studios. But kind of funny though. It's like, to me, you can't have it both ways. Either Penguin and Joker have to be both not DC Studios or both DC Studios. But the other way around doesn't really work. So
well, it's because Penguin is doing well. If Penguin was getting panned and people were crapping all over it, they would take that DC Studios logo off of it.
Exactly. Now let's
if it was failing.
Exactly. So we're gonna kind of speed run these next topics. So the ending, Josh, your thoughts?
Like I said, in a weird way, I got a kick out of the ending. I started laughing sinisterly because as soon as Arthur starts the joke, you get what you fucking deserve, and then the audience members are, and as soon as I heard audience's reactions, I could not help it. I was like, I started chuckling. because I've been telling people, right? Thankfully, this community, I've been very encouraged to know that this community, you guys, sells ESGL to Netflix, sells Snyderverse to Netflix. In my opinion, y'all got the joke of the first one, right? I think y'all knew he was never the Joker. Unfortunately, in my circles, my friend groups, based on the first one, they're like, yeah, but he could be, or like, he's like the guy before the Joker. So there is a Joker before, but I was like, he's not the fucking Joker. So I've been having to deal with years of the memes of the fucking, and they know I have Jared Leto on my arm with Harley Quinn, right? And so having Joaquin on this pantheon and having, of the Jokers, but oh no, Jared Leto's not invited, but and then so of course I was like, I'm telling you, he's not the Joker. So when the sequel got announced, I was like, but then I started thinking, I had a glimmer of hope, and I was like, is Todd going to do what I hope he does? And he did. That's why I started laughing, because he proved that I was right. He's not the fucking Joker. He's just said in a Variety article recently that I shared with Bat Dan, 100% definitive proof. Let me show it to you so everyone can fucking see that Arthur Fleck. Oh, sorry. Where's it at? Oh, no. Here it is. Oh, no, it's not on here. Sorry. Anyways, it's a Variety article. And
I read that article. I know which one you're talking about.
Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is, Bat Dan. Right here. Todd Phillips says, Joker 2 director. Says Arthur Fleck was never Joker. He was an unwitting icon, and Joker is this idea that Gotham people put onto him. I've been saying this since fucking 2019, so I feel vindicated. So in a sense, I loved the ending. I got a fucking laugh out of it, because he who laughs last laughs loudest. So thank you, Todd.
So in a way, it's the audience's fault for hyping up the first movie so much and making the movie so much money, because we would have been your friends could have all had their illusion if there wasn't a sequel. Mm-hmm. But now the sequel definitively proves.
Yep. And I told Bat Dan this. I've had so many friends who were a fan of the first Joker. And I warned them, I was like, you're not going to like it. And then they started hearing word of mouth. And I am one of those people, I agree with Bat Dan. Even if I'm not wanting to see something, if I'm going to critique it, I need to go and I need to give it a chance, because art just is, right? I gave it 2 chances now. I've watched Folie et Deux 2 times. And the ending made me laugh both times. So I will say that. I'll say that.
I found the ending to be very satisfying in the same way that you did. And I also love the idea of a young Heath Ledger stabbing Arthur Fleck and then carving the smiles into his own face. I thought that was that's a fan theory that has been out for a couple of years now. Okay. And it made sense, and it just goes to show you how checked out Todd Phillips was, because they went with a fan theory at the end of the movie.
Exactly. I mean, to me, this is what the ending was. Todd Phillips wanted to end his career or end his DC franchise and move on.
End his career.
And yeah, just his time in DC. And I'm just curious who Arthur's visitor was. That's what I wanted to know. We didn't get to see that. End of the day, he didn't care. And
it was Jared Leto laughing. I don't know if y'all can see that, but he who laughs last laughs loudest. It's Joker made out of ha-ha-has.
Okay, Josh. So now the rating, and just because I want to just go over one more topic real quick, because I know someone has to get going. So just say your rating real quick, and then we'll move on to the one final thing. Josh,
so I will say, surprisingly, although I did not like this movie, just because, I won't revisit this movie. I won't suffer through the music
ever again.
However, I did get the elated reaction from the ending. So unfortunately, just because of that, and it's not fair at all, because I will say Joker 2019 is a better movie, right? just technical wise, cinematography wise, as a homage to Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. But I give that a 5 just because that's how it hit me. For this, I would give this a 6 just because that ending made me smile. And I was right.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And ZodWriter, you?
I'm gonna give Joker Folie à Deux a 5 out of 10. I will never watch it again.
And I will give it a 6.19234858962 out of 10. So now I want to move on to the final question, and that's why I was trying to holding someone hostage a little bit, because this is on the title of the stream. Was the Joker franchise overrated? And we'll start with you, Josh. Was the Joker franchise overrated?
In my opinion, yes. However, I do preface, like I said before the stream, like my opinion is not the authority on art, right? So there are people within this community that it really touched. Joker franchise touched them in their hearts, right? And that's what you want from any art, right? As we are Zack Snyder fans, we loved Man of Steel. We resonate with BVS so much deeper than the, mainstream, audience members. And we all embrace Zack Snyder's Justice League as the masterpiece that it is, right? For me, some people call Joker 2019 a masterpiece. I don't agree, but I can see why people would, right? And I can see, Zod, how you explain. Thank you for explaining your, critique of the movie, because you actually, I appreciate that you liked it, right? I don't want art. If art exists and nobody likes it, then it's a waste of time for fucking everybody, right? But people did. Even though I didn't enjoy it, Zod enjoyed it, right? Dan enjoyed it, right? Other people in the community loved it. It made a fucking $1 billion. But I always knew, guys, just because it made $1 billion, I talked to so many people, just random people at Comic-Cons and stuff. The sensationalism, which is what both of these movies were about, really did help the box office, because not a lot of people that I talked to who actually paid to go see Joker 2019 actually enjoyed it. They were more interested in a sequel because of Lady Gaga, but when they went, the few that did, turns out she wasn't in it nearly as much, and a ton of her scenes were cut out. So I feel bad for Gaga fans, honestly, because there's a big controversy now, and it's released the Gaga cut because a lot of her scenes were cut. So for me, unfortunately, I said this in my tweet after I saw it, and I 100% stand by this, just my personal opinion. I said Joker 2 rumors were true. In my honest opinion, the entire franchise was a waste of time, other than giving us DC Elseworlds. But Joaquin was never Joker, and sequel proves it definitively. Jared Leto is Joker, and Margot is Harley Quinn. You're a fan, cool, but I say sell ZSGL Netflix, sell Snyderverse Netflix. That's where I'm at.
And
Perfect.
And actually, Josh, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here. Would you be, Zod and I are going to talk about doing a review on the first 4 episodes of Penguin. Would you join us for that review?
Honestly, I never, Dan and Zod, ever. I fucking love the Joker. Okay, fucking love him. I would have never expected that I would be enjoying a TV fucking series of Oswald Cobb more than I would have enjoyed a Joker theatrical movie. So, yes, episode 3 was fucking fire. I watched it earlier today. We were talking about it backstage, and we and Zod started going on a tangent. It is so good. I never expected, and I hated the Batman, and I didn't like Oswald.
Yes. See, that's exactly how I was. I hated it. I hated him in that movie. I don't understand how they could do such a great transition.
He's actually becoming Penguin. That's what it is.
It's because, it's because Matt Reeves is barely involved with this TV show. That's another good thing too.
And actually, on that show, we will move, like we were going to have a DC Elseworld topic on this stream. We will move that to the Penguin stream, because I thought of a way to kind of combine the 2 topics into one to make it flow perfectly. So
yes, Bishop, I said joking. I've been calling him.
I didn't catch that.
Joking.
Nice.
Joaquin Phoenix.
And I will say real quick is that I do think with this franchise dead, it kind of leaves room for another Joker to be more appreciated. Jared Leto, our Snyderverse Joker. But anyways, ZodWriter, your thoughts. Was the Joker franchise overrated?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. I think it became overrated. I think as just a single movie, as an Elseworld, not trying to be more than it was great. The problem was when they tried to expand on it with the sequel, that just wasn't that good. When they tried to make a standalone story into more than what it needed to be, that's when it became overrated to me. I will love the first film always. I can pretend that the second film never existed. But yeah, at this point, just like in some way, Harley Quinn became a little overrated to me because of how people are portraying her lately. I loved Harley Quinn before she was popular. I'll put it like that. She was actually probably my third favorite DC character before she became popular. And then when they're trying to make Harley Quinn what she's now, I'll put it like that. That's when she became overrated to me. And that's the Joker franchise. When you try to make it what it's not, it became overrated. So coming up on this channel, at the end of is catch our Penguin review, where we will review the first 4 episodes of Penguin, all 3 of us, and we will cover how this movie and the Penguin series affects DC Elseworld. So be on the lookout for that. Josh, or sorry, Joker, what do you have coming up for you?
So, I will be on a stream this weekend, but it will be announced Wednesday. So stay tuned to all the social medias, especially Twitter.
I think it was already announced on that channel, but we'll keep the illusion alive. But yeah, check that out, people. And ZodWriter, any One Punch Man stuff you want to promote coming up?
Well, all I'll say about One Punch Man right now is that I'm still working on it, and I'm loving the symmetry of the characters of Just Josh and Bishop, and One Punch Man and Pretty Punch, and I'll leave it at that.
And any other streams coming up for you? Or I know you're not doing your own, but appearing on anyone else's? Any other streams I know you're going to appear on my stream later on, but any other streams you're going to appear on soon?
I'm not quite sure yet. I'll keep you posted if there's anything that I'm going to be on in the near future. Right now, it's all about getting One Punch Man done.
Sounds good. I cannot wait for that. And coming up on this channel, again, the Penguin review, and I will try to get some review of Twilight of the Gods in, where we'll also cover the UFC movie that Zack Snyder's doing, and some 300 watch parties we're going to try to get in, because 300 is on Netflix right now. So be on the lookout for that. And guys, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and great debates such as these. And guys, let's get Bishop to 100 by the end of the week. It's 3 more subscribers. Let's get Bishop.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And on that note, have a bat-tastic day.
Have a nice day.